Right, we're live on YouTube. Hello,
Hello,
YouTube. Apologies to YouTube because now I get to see my backside, which is
which is your best
Why didn't
side?
you do that one last then?
because I just do it that way.
Very good.
I'm looking for our audience. That's what they like a close up of my stomach.
Right, we are on. We are live. Is that working? Good stuff. Welcome along, everyone. It's the shaft of the grand final. And well done to the Wigan Warriors, winners of not only the men's but the women's grand final as well. Well done to them. Well done to Swinton for securing their place in the championship. And well done to Workington for putting 17 players on the field despite bizarre circumstances. We're looking forward to England as well. We'll get Scully's view on Richie Myler getting selected for England. As you can see, the legend has pulled out his old England tracksuit. He's ready for action. Is the legend. We'll get his views on that and the test match with France. And we're going to talk about what is needed to promote the game. Great news today. Georgia Oates, the ladies' woman of steel, has been nominated for the BBC Young Sports Personality of the Year, which is great news. But what do we need to do to get the sport out to more fans, and what do we need to do to improve it? 2 hours 15 for the grand final. It's not on, in my opinion. You can get in touch as ever at 4020 Live. For everyone watching, listening today, can I ask a favour? Share it, retweet it, promote it with your friends. We'll give away a copy of Phil's new magazine, 4020, that's out this week, I believe. We'll get a preview of that before we go as well. That's pretty much it from me as an intro. Boys, have you enjoyed your weekend? Phil Capel?
End of the domestic season. So I feel a little bit deflated because we've been doing this since February, but I think the women's final that Rich and I were at live, absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed that. Great game. That is a sport that has really come on in 2018 from where it was in the first week and the expectations of it to another fantastic final between two great teams. We enjoyed that. I think it probably turned out at Old Trafford the way we expected. Wigan find a way of strangling teams in big games, and for the second final this season, Warrington couldn't find a way of breaking down the opposition defence. We can wrap all that up and probably decide where those two teams are going next season. But what excites me, tempered by the knowledge that Wednesday may not be the most competitive game we're going to see, the international season's with us, and I think that's vitally important. You say what's important for the game, putting the international game right at the top of it. And those who were fortunate enough to watch Australia and New Zealand on Saturday morning, that is what we should be aspiring to. That was top class rugby league.
Yeah, it was legend. Grand final. Well, you didn't go, of course. You were protesting. You didn't go. We'll talk about that a little bit later on.
I won't say it was a protest.
Well, why didn't you go then?
Like I respect.
Well, you were protesting then.
Well, all right.
You're speaking quietly.
Whatever terminology you want to put on it.
He's building up for the Milo run.
No, I'm not. Do you know what? I'm going to be quite calm about that, to be honest, when we get onto that subject. But yeah, you mentioned Matt regarding the weekend. I thought it was good. It was good for rugby league all round, and I say many congratulations to Wigan. Also, I think the juniors as well. They won their game, didn't they? They won. The under-19s won. The women won, and we all know what happened to the grand final. As Phil mentioned with the test match, absolute quality test match. Certainly now, the way that New Zealand played against Australia, this is going to be mouth-watering. And I say we know that England had certainly deflated with some of their players being called up, who maybe. Pretty lucky as far as I'm concerned, but we'll talk about that later down the line. But if Sean Johnson turns up, this is going to be sensational because on his day he's one of the best players in the world. The way that he plays the game, he's a maverick. And I said to a few people at the weekend, well, nobody else would have created him tries like he did because there was nothing on, and literally just ripped the Australian defence apart. So now this Test series is going to be absolutely mouth-watering. Moving on to the grand final, as we said last week, Warrington had to find a way. Beating Wigan from a point of view, they had to chase a game and chase a game and chase a game, but Wigan don't chase games. Certainly in big finals, they're patient, and that's exactly what they did from there. Warrington, no problem with the forwards, no problem with the outside backs, no problems with the full back. Again, it's just lack of creativity. And Tyrone Roberts...
It's Tyrone Roberts, right? And I might be well off mark.
And his partner, Kevin Brown.
He's on over 300 grand a season.
He's a marquee player.
He's a marquee player, and he turned out that on thing. you
Well,
know.
as I say, there's nothing wrong with everybody, but again, and I'm the chairman of defending halfbacks. I can reassure you, but again, I cannot defend Tyler Roberts and Kevin Brown what they dished up again in a big major final. Exactly the same at Wembley, and as I say, they dished up absolutely nothing. But from Wigan's point of view, we all know the players who are leaving. We all know the situation with the Sean Wayne. Many congratulations, Sean. I just don't want him to leave the game for too long. But for me, I think the big story is Manfredi. How much has he put in for the last 2 years, not just to get himself fit, but to put that Wigan jersey on? And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago from Manfredi when he came back and scored the two tries, what he did, you know, the man management and I would say the personal love what Sean Wayne has given this kid, and the confidence what that lad has had because of the backing of the main man in Sean Wayne. And for me, he was my man of the match. I know everybody voted a little bit different, but for me, it was my man of the match, and I think Manfredi was the big story on Saturday.
The big story was Sean Wayne, and Sean Wayne wanted it to be Manfredi, and in terms of pure heroism.
Yeah, Phil, they're both different stories in the right sort of category, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, the thing about Manfredi wasn't that this was just his 5th game back after 2 years, and he was one of the defining people in meaning that Wigan won it. But it's actually he suffered an injury during the game that most of us would have gone and laid down for a month.
Yeah, but you know what, Phil? He's only been back for 5 games, right? He doesn't look as though he's been away from the game, does he?
But you cannot get away from the fact that the human drama for after the game had finished was Sean Wayne. I've never experienced anything in a press conference where at the end of it, not only did he nearly break down 3 times in tears, and we're talking about the man of granite here.
Yeah.
But as he said goodbye to the press and thanked them for looking after his back since he'd announced his retirement, the room stood up and applauded him. I have never seen that before.
And rightly so.
You know, these are some hard-bitten journalists that have covered a lot of stories in that room, and to a man and woman, they got up and applauded Sean Wayne. The interviews he gave on all of the television stations, Sky, the BBC, Radio 5, virtually in tears, could hardly speak. Just how much it meant to him. That is the story. And everybody should be saying, so why is he leaving?
Do you know what as well, Phil? And they say, in Martin Sadler's piece as well in the League Express, and he said, how can the game afford to lose 2 big characters, the 2 most successful coaches in Super League over what the last 5 or 6 years, in Brian McDermott and Sean Wayne?
I think if Wayne Bennett is not re-employed at the end of 2019, because that's when his current contract runs out, Sean Wayne will be the England coach going into the World Cup.
Okay, interesting one. I think public perception of Sean Wayne, Rich. Oh, by the way, good evening.
Good evening.
Are you all right?
Yeah, well, on Sean Wayne, it's amazing. He's 30 years unbroken at Wigan. Apart from that time he spent at Leeds, everyone seems to have conveniently forgotten because it doesn't fit in with the narrative.
Oh,
Well, no, we're all going to miss Sean Wayne.
£110,000 Leeds paper.
I think he played well for Leeds as well. He gave, well, that's what Wayne needs. He gave his all.
Airbrush from history. Airbrush from history.
He loved playing for Ward, I can reassure you. Loved playing. And we'll be the show now, Wayne, because I'm led to believe at times after the season finishes to go to Ireland. Do you know why he goes to Ireland? Because he loves a drop of the old black stuff. So I'm hoping if he's over there now, tell you what, mate, enjoy.
Wigan Awards tonight. There'll be
All
more buckets of tears.
All right, well.
But he did say he was going off to drink for a month.
Yeah, well, and we'll for the show, he will be doing that. And rightly so. Rightly so.
very good. Right, okay. People can get in touch via the YouTube over there,
they can.
or Facebook over there.
Twitter in here.
Yeah. What's happening?
Well, KPW81, snappy name, says, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I agree with Schofield. Manfredi was the story of the final for me. I'll let you into a secret, talking to all these cameras. Well, it's not a secret, because I mentioned it on Twitter. If we'd have voted for man of the match 5 minutes later, Manfredi would have won it.
The vote was taken before
The second
his second try.
Yeah, no, it was. Do we need, in this day and age, do we need to change that?
Well, we don't need to write on a piece of paper, do we? I mean, like, we've got WhatsApp and texting.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
and all
Could
that,
you not have just
yeah,
done it
it's
like that and done it at the end?
instantaneous, isn't it?
It's becoming an issue for me now that people, the story of the game, don't get the man of the match.
I'm not sure every single person in the rugby league media knows how to use WhatsApp. I'd be,
Okay.
well, I'm not saying Scully.
Well, he doesn't.
What's going on?
He wasn't there anyway.
No,
He didn't get a vote. So
Protesting.
last year he filled his form in before the final. He voted for Grant Millington. That would have gone down, wouldn't it?
Well, it's only like the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't talk about that, don't we? Elsewhere, will the departing Wigan personnel... Oh, clicked on the wrong thing. make it difficult for Wigan next year. It will, because they're all going.
Well, look, right.
It's a poison chalice.
Let's take on board Wigan. Great, and I've had my run-ins, and people from Wigan have been getting in touch with me saying, look, you've got the Wayne thing wrong. He's not been forced out. He's left of his own free will. I've got my own opinion on that. We've got our own opinions on that. That's not about today. The question is now, Sean Wayne is leaving. 3 grand finals, Challenge Cup, World Club Series gone. John Bateman, arguably Wigan's best player, is leaving. Sam Tompkins, arguably Wigan's best player, is leaving. Ryan Sutton, a very good player, leaving. I'm hearing Sean O'Loughlin is going to be joining Leeds. That's what I'm hearing. If he goes, what the hell is going to happen to Wigan?
You missed 2 people, Anne. Mark Bitcon and Matty
Matt
Peake.
Yeah.
So we talk about the under-19s and the fantastic run they've had. Matty Peake's leaving. Mark Bitcon, right-hand man of Sean Wayne, performance, conditioning. Clearly the way they played again on Saturday, the fittest team in the sport. So it's not just that Sean's going, massive influence that he's had, the whole of the back room's going. And they've won the title. That is a poison chalice for the next person that takes over. And if Sean O'Loughlin was to decide to leave, and let's face it, he was earmarked to have a place on the coaching staff under Sean Wayne, and you missed out again Michael McAlorum, who left at the start of the season but not planned. I think Sean Wayne expected him to be part of his team this year. That is the ending of a dynasty. That really is.
I tell you what, Matt on Twitter has been saving this tweet since January. Remember when we were on another radio station? Not that one, but the other one. The one that's
Really?
on that one. When we were on national radio. And apparently we were bashing Wigan, which we may have been doing, I can't remember.
Well, I didn't think. I thought this
We
was
didn't think
this
they were
year.
the grand final,
Yeah,
did we?
no,
And they won it.
Matt, it's all about opinions, son.
We thought he'd be sent
I don't
home.
think too many people in January, coming off the season that they'd had, when by their own admission they played poorly in Super League last year, were not an entertaining team, and that was seemingly affecting the attendances at Wigan. I don't think too many people said Wigan would win the title last January.
No,
I think it's incredibly admirable that they have,
Oh, it's true.
but
It's a
hindsight
tremendous
there
achievement.
is a wonderful thing.
It's a tremendous achievement.
You've thrown this grenade, you've lobbed the Sean O'Loughlin shaped
It's
grenade.
what I- look,
Dawn,
look.
I don't believe, she's shouting, I don't believe it. She's saying,
Don't shoot the messenger.
we may be wrong.
Come
We
on,
may be
Wigan
wrong.
fans,
We
give
might
Mark
be
Wilson
going.
plenty of stickies to leave me alone
Hang
for a
on,
week.
hang on.
Huh?
In defence, we have got good form for breaking stories on this show. Right now, we might have got this one wrong, and if I have, well, time will tell. It always does.
I wonder
But
what
we
Leeds- I
did
wonder-
break the news that Sean
Yeah,
Wayne was
yeah,
leaving, and he
absolutely.
left, didn't he?
I
So,
wonder what the Leeds fans reckon about Sean O'Loughlin.
I was gonna say,
It'd be-
well,
it'd be
that's
interesting.
that's what we're hearing. That's the talk we've got.
It would
No
be
doubt, I'll be
interesting.
getting a message in a minute from my friend at Wigan saying that ain't happening. You're talking rubbish. Well, if it happens, I'll tell you.
But also as well, Phil's just mentioned that it's the end of an era or a dynasty. Boy oh boy, how much pressure now is on Adrian Lamb, because let's not forget here, he's only there for 12 months. So Adrian Lamb, is he just coming there for 12 months just
To steady the ship.
to steady the sheep, lay the foundations for Sean Edwards from there? Because I would imagine, certainly, because I know Sean pretty well, I've known, Sean since we're 18 years of age, and the character what he is, he'll want to do its own way from there now. So on 2 points of view from Adrian Lamb, the pressure's on because of what Sean Wayne's achieved as the champions. He's got the World Cup Challenge coming up as well. How's it going to work in 12 months? What are the players going to buy into for 12 months when Sean Edwards, believe you me, will change everything
Well,
what Adrian Lamb has done?
is Sean Edwards now Adrian Lamb's boss, even though he don't work for Wigan?
Yeah.
Is he the coach saying he wants everything that's going on?
I wouldn't rule that
Are
out.
you saying he's Lamb laying the foundation for, well, this is how it's going to be, lads. You better get used
Yeah,
to
so
that.
Sean will be saying to Lamb, listen, this is what A, B, C and D right up to the Z, what I want, put all that in place, so it's just an easy switch over for when he comes in for the
And
season
Lamb could even
2020.
be staying as an assistant
The
under
other way.
Sean Edwards.
Yeah, the other way.
I think going back to the would O'Loughlin be a good fit for Leeds, I think one of the reasons these rumours have come out, but they have come from 2 separate sources, so normally there is some truth behind that, even if it's only a,
Is he out of contract or
even if
does
it's
he want
only
to
a
leave?
discussion at this stage.
Is he out of contract or does he want to leave because Wayne is leaving? Because they were like father and son, weren't they?
Well,
You
as
can see-
we remember when
you can
this
see the
all
relationship
happened,
between
and I
them two.
said there are players there that all they know is Sean Wayne.
Correct.
That is all they know.
Mm.
There'll be players there that under Sean Wayne I've no doubt Sean O'Loughlin will have played dozens of times when he shouldn't have played.
Yeah.
Because Wayne will have said, Sean, I need
I
you
need
this
it.
week, mate.
Yeah.
And he'll say, right, no problem, boss, I'll be there. Probably never trains, just turns up with his
Absolutely.
kit on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And there'll be players that may have been promised roles moving forward, and those roles may now not be there.
I think that it fits on 2 levels for Leeds if it was to
Be a
happen.
great signing for
If it-
Leeds.
it's
Great.
exactly
He is a
what-
leader of
It is,
men.
it is exactly what Leeds need.
Yeah.
And very equivalent to David Furner, who we will be playing under and played with at Wigan. I think the Furner has realised that there is some young talent coming through at Leeds, but leadership is what's been lacking. If you're going to change a culture, much as David Furner did himself when he came to Headingley in 2003, and all of those young kids were coming through, and he was one of the people that galvanised them. Sean O'Loughlin could have that same role at Headingley. I think the other link where there is a small sliver of credibility in this is his relationship with Kevin Sinfield at England. I think that is now really strong. Probably not as strong as a relationship will have been with Sean Wayne, but there is a mutual admiration there between the two of them. You could see it happening. It would benefit Leeds on where they are at the moment, unquestionably. What it would do to Wigan, I have absolutely no idea.
It could happen, Ledge. It could happen.
Oh,
There's some mileage in it.
hey, Mark, I wouldn't rule it out, but do you know what as well? Now you mentioned it with O'Loughlin coming to Leeds, I tell you what a partnership that would have been. Wayne a head coach, O'Loughlin cap. Wayne.
That's
I-
just-
I- no,
How are you
hold
gonna get all
on,
these
hold
people?
on.
David
And
Ward.
I said before, Danny Ward, actually, as I said before, I would have loved Wayne to be the Leeds coach. What, and O'Loughlin is the skipper, and then Sinfield in charge of the...
I think
and Sinfield in charge upstairs. What a triangle that would have
you
been.
could put Furner in there because I think he is in that Sean Wayne type mould.
Now listen,
for
Phil,
Sean
let me tell you this. There's nobody in the Sean Wayne mould. There is nobody in the Sean Wayne...
Have we?
When the players will tell you, when we talk about this pit, there is no... It's all relentless.
Yeah.
Further won't be that sort of person. There's a player I played against with you and all this. He won't be nowhere. There is only one Sean Wayne from the way that the old terminology, doggies players. The players will tell you that because that's what they respond to. That's what they respond from there. And just to finish on Sean, with
But
Wigan point
is
of view,
that just Wigan players? Would that work if Sean Wayne went somewhere else?
well, he'd have to do it, or else he'd ship him out. That's his philosophy.
Because what's in his heart?
But
that clearly came out.
he's had those kids.
Yeah,
from
and
a young
they're
age.
Wigan kids, and
Oh,
he's
yeah, so they can.
They're his men, aren't
Yeah,
they?
well, all
They're
right.
his
So,
men.
so what we're saying now is Sean Wayne's got to go to a club for a club and stay there 30 years. Let's sort of blow that out of the water. But also just finish on Sean Wayne there with Wigan. Surely now he's got to be inducted into their Hall of Fame, hasn't he?
Well, he's been
He's got
given
to
a
be
civic
in the
honour,
Hall.
I think,
Yeah, he has.
tonight.
Well, he's got a bit.
Might be
Without
able
a
to
doubt.
walk his sheep through Wigan soon or something like that.
Can you ever remember a time when Leeds would have gone for a highly successful coach at another club to come in
Well,
and change?
but there is a precedent here as well. If you remember when Leeds got Ellery Hanley from Wigan, you'll remember, obviously, that towards the end of his career, what did Leeds need in that dressing room? Someone that could walk in there and the kids that were starting to come through could sharp intake of breath. And you and Ellery got Leeds to
They got that when Scully walked in with his vest and shorts on.
2 consecutive
They
years.
can't see his legs.
And with big glasses.
They don't know.
And then bins.
But didn't Leeds get to Wembley?
Twice.
Twice
Yeah,
on the back of that?
but we didn't win, did we? Yeah.
No,
Dennis Taylor.
I'm just saying there is precedent.
There is. We'll get some social media reaction. Get it coming in at 4020 live. Remember, if we're going to pick a winner at random tonight, please share, spread the word if you like with your friends on Facebook, Twitter. We're live on YouTube. Apparently, it sounds better on YouTube.
Yeah, we
Despite
don't
the
know
fact
why.
it's his old phone
Yeah.
and we've got all these. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Technically.
You can listen again on the podcast later on. Lots of people reacting about this.
Yeah.
Look, it is only rumour,
It is.
but we're going with it.
Should we
We're
do a
happy.
set-
We're confident we're right on this one.
If you want to set up next week's rumour, just tweet us in during the week. DMs are open. A lot of people mention the fact that there's a relationship between Furner and O'Loughlin from the past. Steve says, why would he want to play for a bottom 4 club? Well, who knows where they'll be next season? Who knows where Wigan will be? KPW's been back on again. Doing anything about Talima Tautai's future? Ian Lenigan, friend of the show, didn't give him a mention. Next season's squad depth in a recent interview, despite mentioning every other player, including the academy.
I think it's telling he hasn't played in the last few games, if I'm going to read into that. But go on.
Should we address the elephant in the room now? We can. Well, I've asked a question on Twitter.
Go on, then.
Who's going to wear number 1 for Wigan next year? Because it's not Sam Tompkins anymore.
It'll be Zach Hardake. I think it'll be sanctioned, but I don't think they'll cut it.
People are comparing it to the Joel Tompkins, and I'm going to probably say something that might be slightly controversial now. I don't agree.
That won't be a first.
I speak from the heart. I don't agree with what Joel Tompkins did. In my understanding, he tenders his resignation. It's very easy to accept that resignation when there's a young man in Australia that you can get probably for the same money you're paying the man that's done something wrong, and is undoubtedly, in my opinion, a better player. It's very easy to accept the resignation and move him along when you've got a replacement. With Zach Hardacre,
they need
right.
They need
there's no one else.
One of the reasons
they're going to keep him.
Well, one of the reasons they've signed him is because of the people who were going. You
Yeah.
have to, whatever we say about his behaviour off the field, whenever he has played and played at his best, he's one of the most potent attacking weapons that we've got in Super League. Wigan will have been relying on having that next year, with losing the players that we've already mentioned, but particularly Sam Tommins, who again, for the couple of indiscretions in the first half, was one of the best players on the field in terms of marshalling the
Should
side.
you not? I mean, we'll talk about that in a bit. I mean, Stuart said, it's worse what he's done than Joel Tompkins. Look, it's not for me, I'm not judging jury, but what I mean is it's very easy it's very easy to accept a resignation when you've got someone willing to walk in the door. Hardacre, is he going to be at Wigan next season, Ledge?
Listen, mate, to be honest with you, all I want to say about this is simple. I don't want to talk about the idiots.
Well, you're going to have to do, if he's playing, you're going to have to talk about it.
Well, at this moment in time, I don't want to give him any publicity. For me, well, all right, for me, he should not be anywhere near rugby league. It's as simple as that. He should be sacked and binned off.
I don't think he will be.
And then signed by whoever needs. Because there are players.
And also as well, Phil's on about here about the player what he is. By the time he starts playing again, he's going to be out for 2 years. He's coming back nowhere near the player what he was.
No.
Nowhere, mate.
Escarret,
I like Escarret. Why not?
Escarret,
Yeah, why not? I like him. Without a doubt. He knows the Wigan formula. They say age he'll come in with different philosophies from there, so I don't have an issue with Escarret.
Yeah.
I don't. But as far as that idiot goes, for me, bin him off. Sack him.
Plenty of, well, at least I can think of one example of a player who's got a criminal record who's held up as a hero by some at one club, so happens.
Does that?
It does, but as we said before,
The
he'll always get another chance because
The
he's good.
issues run deeper, and Zach needs to sort himself out. But something that Wigan can't even do, whether they keep him or don't keep him, there are some
The
issues
people,
that Zach needs to address, which he knows. Now, whether he can or
well, the
doesn't-
people closest to him should be
if
sorting
I
him out.
think people at Wigan will say that's an element of our attack that we need next year.
Phil has had 6 goals.
I know.
He had three goals at Leeds. Excuse me. And I go at Penrith.
Yeah,
And I go at Cass.
absolutely.
And now he's had a go. Now he's had a go at Wigan. Excuse me. And he hasn't even started playing yet. So he's had 6 goals.
Yeah.
Awful
That's what I'm
different
saying.
things
The
as well. I
issue
mean,
lies with him. But if you were Wigan, I don't think you'd sack him at the moment.
it's the impressive thing, it's awful different things he's always been told off for.
Right, I want to talk about Wigan. Good, because I thought they were great on Saturday. I really did think they were great. Wraps up, they've won the women's, they've won the under-9s, they've now won the men's tournament as well. They were absolutely fantastic to a man. They probably could have been better in the first half score, but once they got in front, you never felt they were going to lose.
No, absolutely. And I think we spoke about it before the game started, didn't we? Saturday morning before the game, and we just said, well, Warrington, they're going to really have to play the best full 80 minutes, but they're going to have to be chasing the game all the time. And the question what I said to you, Matt, well, I don't really think Warrington can chase the game for long enough periods to warrant beating Wigan, because Wigan will be relentless. They will not change whatever they do from the first whistle to the last whistle, and they didn't do that. The big thing what you see with Wigan, the way that he plays, the patience. Defensively, they're very patient, they don't panic. When Warrington scored that try from there, the defence, quite simply, good creativity from Warrington, great pass from Manfredi, but they don't panic, they just stick to what they do and what they do very best. And then once they get in good field position, the patience what they show, and it just showed with the 3 quality tries what they scored. You know, great first try, Gildart setting up from there, brilliant vision from Williams with a kick, and I say lovely pair of hands from Manfredi to get himself a double. Just sheer quality, semi-final football, final football, and who does it any better than Wigan? I don't think there's too many teams, mate, to be honest.
There can't be too many teams that have gone through a semi-final and a final and only conceded 4 points. That's the measure of Wigan at this time of the year, and knowing, and I think Castleford have said it, St Helens have said it, and now Warrington have said it. You've got to know how to win big games. Wigan know how to win. They don't. Just before kick-off, I had a lingering doubt as to whether all the emotion around, particularly Sean Wayne, might be a distraction. But because it's not Sean Wayne, you know, that whole week leading up to it, all the documentaries, all the programmes, he doesn't normally do that much media. He's on every radio station, every television, and I just wondered if, it might, I don't know. They're such a solid team that they probably would have done. But you just wonder whether they wanted too much to win it for Sean, and it might affect the way that they played. But it didn't. They were absolutely 100% solid, which says a lot about them. For Warrington to win for me before the game, not only had to take every chance, but they had to create at least 3 guilty chances to beat Wigan. I don't think it was ever going to be a high-scoring game. And Ratchford twice broke through in the second half. Not only did he not have anybody in support, but the next sets after that, each half-back in turn made a poor decision. So Brown's pass to the touchline was poor, and then Roberts dropped the ball.
Well, we've been asked about this because Robin said Escarret changed the game on Saturday, but why did Warrington only give Patton 9 minutes when it clearly wasn't working before?
Because
not that he had a great 9 minutes when he came on, but
because it has worked previously in the run-up to getting them to the that was their modus operandi. But should they have changed it earlier? Possibly. I just think they weren't going to get many opportunities, and they didn't take. They didn't create enough, and the 2 or 3 that they did create, they didn't take. Blake Austin will be better for them next year because he's a different sort of a halfback.
Yeah,
he's more of the maverick that you like to see, and every team needs.
Tell you what as well, because we don't really know how long Wayne is doing in Rugby Union. Steve Price at Warrington for the next 2 years? Wayne for Warrington?
Hull. Midway through next season. Hull.
Wayne for Hull.
He made a great point on the way home. Who's the coach at the minute under the most pressure in Super League?
When the bookies put
it's got to be Lee Radford, hasn't it?
Bearing in mind there are 2 coaches out there who are the most successful coaches in the summer era who are now unemployed. Somebody is under real pressure at the start of next season.
Well, I'll say it now. I don't want anyone to get sacked, obviously. But
No.
obviously there's one. Or Catalans will be in the grand final next year.
Yeah.
We were talking.
I'm going early now.
We were talking on the
t-shirt
way
printed
back,
already.
and again we need to wrap up 2018 and look forward to internationals rather than spend too much time looking at 2019. Who are your front runners next year?
Well, we'll discuss that a little bit later on.
It's interesting because I think Catalan might be one of them.
Yeah, I think Huddersfield, if they can recruit, will go well. But Wigan, great side, but it does feel it's the end of an era. It really does feel it's the end of an era.
There's no 2 ways about it, and then I say Lammy for 12 months, and then Sean coming from there because. And I say, but the question is Sean ruling the roost now, telling Lammy what to do from day to day, putting things in place for when he joins in 2020? It's going to be a very pressurised season for Adrian Lammy.
Wigan, Chris Radlinski said they're on the lookout for a half-back. Josh Drinkwater to Wigan?
Possibly.
He's available.
Well, there's not too many quality ones out there, is there?
He's available.
There's not too many quality ones out there.
As we discuss later, yeah, exactly.
Richie Myler being picked up for England. Why isn't Danny Maguire being picked for England? Come on.
Okay, we're in the bottom 4.
Oh no, we're so Leeds.
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you trying to tell me? Richie, are you trying to tell me that Danny Maguire wasn't playing better than Richie Myler?
Well, I don't know, because I've not seen much.
Richie Myler is Leeds' best player this season. That's not me telling you.
The issue is not Richie Myler, is it? The issue is the fact that there aren't any.
Yeah,
I think if you are picking people who have performed this year, you can see why Richie Myler has been bought.
Yeah, look, good luck to him. If he gets the game, good luck to him.
I think it's great reward for consistency.
He predicted it. Phil predicted it.
He did.
He predicted it. It's going. Mine will get 20 tries, but he didn't. But he'll get an England call up.
Well, there you go.
He's the man. Kaplan's the man. He predicted it. And listen, I nearly strangled him. Now I want to strangle him now.
I did say he has to play well to get it. He could play well, and I think he's deserved. If there are some young players who are injured at the moment, and you need a little bit of experience around the squad, and you need a bit of organisation, which is the way Wayne Bennett likes to play, I think he deserves his place.
We wrote Wigan off, we got that wrong, but there you go, we got something.
We got that right.
Nicholas, how many Toronto's been on? So many compelling and fascinating storylines that could have been promoted and marketed, driving interest in viewers, but only the faithful knew. Where was the advertising? Grand final, 65,000 people. NFL regular season game in London between 2 teams not really in contention, 85,000. We've both been to the NFL, haven't we?
Yeah, I had tickets to go yesterday, but I had to work, so I couldn't go.
It's a full day of entertainment, and you can tell there's money thrown at it. And I don't think the RFL or Super League or anyone has that money that the NFL have.
I want to talk about the game,
Yeah.
and that's going to come up later about the crowd.
There aren't many excuses, aren't they, which we can bring up.
But I think they are all excuses, though. That's what I would say. We've talked about Warrington. Well done to them. Wigan. Well done to them. Warrington's going. You mentioned you don't think they're that far away. They've been to 2 finals. They've lost. That's the second time in 3 years they've been to both finals and lost. What do they have to do to become winners? Where do they need to change?
Well, let's look at Wembley first. They got the game plan totally wrong at Wembley. They just thought that we'll get into an arm wrestle as the saying goes from there, and there was no way Murdy was going to win the arm at Carlton because we knew Carlton were going to play exactly the same as what they did against St Helens. We were going to batter them, and that's what they did. They took the opportunity. So they had their own game plan from there. But again, there was no creativity from the halfbacks. They had no variation in the play whatsoever. Again, no blame for the forwards and the outside backs at Wembley, but it's a situation at Old Trafford. They got ripped in. The outside backs were good. The full back was excellent, as proven with a man of the match from there. So when you're looking for your 2 most important players, i.e., when you get good field position, the forwards have done their jobs. Your halfbacks are literally being clueless, just taking the wrong decisions. And when you talk about patience, when you look at that break there, Kevin Brown for the ball at the touch from there, that's where like you start again. That's where you start again. It's the calmness and putting pressure on. So it's like Castleford. It's the same as Cass. What Warrington have to do is not just handle pressure, but they have to put teams under more pressure by being more patient.
I think the other thing as well is, was it 3 times in the first half on the last tackle play, they did the power play option, the 1-up drive, taking a tackle. I think you can't do that in a final. There's got to be more than that. You're almost surrendering to the opposition the idea that you have no idea how to break them down.
It's the variation flow wasn't there, was it? That's what it was. It's not. I talk about the vision and awareness. I talk about vision and awareness.
And I think pace. Yeah, there was a lack of pace in midfield.
But when I talk about vision and awareness, I'm looking at when you're 40 and 50 metres out from the opposition try, and when you're looking at there. But when you're in the opposition 22, when you're 10 and 15 metres away, that's where you're looking for different variation. And Warrington didn't have that at the weekend.
And I think they need a bit more out of Ben Murdoch-Masilla coming off the bench, because I think earlier in the season, and certainly for Tonga, massive impact. But I think maybe he's not fully fit at the moment, but he's not having that. He's going to change the game when he comes off the bench.
He's not having an impact, is he?
No. So I think, a couple of players, I think Jason Clark, the prop's coming over, he's going to be really, really solid for them up the middle. That's going to give them a platform, but they have to have pace. And I think the Austin will give them the variation that you're talking about, but they need a couple of guys who can, with a great respect to Tom Lynham, proved in the semi-final, absolutely fantastic, bludgeoning winger, hasn't got blinding pace, so you need something maybe in the centres. Bryson Goodwin's been one of the best overseas signings we've seen in 2018, but he's not there for his pace. Toby King perhaps could be. Again, at the start really of his development, and Josh Shanley is one of the best finishers we've seen, but it's guile more than pace, I think. So they need speed and they need creativity, and they probably need a bit more physical presence coming off the bench. But they're not. I think to go from where they were when Steve Price arrived to what they've done this year, they have been one of the success stories of this season. Yeah. And what I couldn't understand at the Man of Steel Awards was why Steve Price didn't get a nomination as Coach of the Year. There's 12 coaches in Super League. Call that 11 because one of them lost his job part way through. 4 nominees and Steve Price didn't get them.
Interesting.
Deserved better.
Very interesting indeed. Let us have your thoughts at Forty20 Live. You can get in touch on the Facebook page. What's going on?
Steve says the difference between the 2 teams on Saturday was Wigan's defence because both attacks were rubbish. Don says the game plan was wrong for Warrington. They tried to take Wigan down the middle using Ben Murdoch-Masilla as a battering ram. No plan B. Well, I hope Steve Price didn't get upset about that. Don't be speaking to you, Don. Dave says Warrington made enough breaks, but the support wasn't there for Rashford in particular. That is true. The half-time incidents.
Right, yeah.
Don says thoughts on that. Well,
what was it anyway? I saw on TV what started it, or what was it? In the tunnel.
There was, I understand, something thrown on the field.
There was some beer thrown at some of the Wigan players, we believe, and a reaction from them. And Navarrete, I think, came in to protect Escaré. And it was all a bit of push and shove. The RFL are investigating it. The match commissioner has been asked for a report.
We'll get a report from the RFL in about July next year then. So
yeah. I'm not sure we'll hear too much more about it in terms of there might be some suspended fines, so in case it happens again.
See,
Yeah.
on Friday night I was working elsewhere and I had a chat with a colleague and we were looking at the betting for the grand final and a sin bidding was 5-4.
Never been one.
I can't remember what the opposite is. It's
No.
4-7?
Yeah,
4-7. And we said 5-4. That's too
Man,
short.
it's a bit loud.
Yeah. Nothing ever happens in grand finals apart from Ben Flower. No cards in playoffs again. Even in the women's game. Who was that Leeds player who tackled so late? It was about on the tackle afterwards. It was brilliant. No card. Oh, just get on with it. Get on with it. No cards in playoffs. Sam Tompkins. One game ban, which he now doesn't have to play against France who he want to play against.
That's all. So we get to why we're drafting England Knights into the England senior team. Myler's a different thing. He's replacing Luke Gale, who's injured. But we've got half a dozen players that are playing on Wednesday and then flying out to Papua New Guinea on Friday. Because we're told the Wigan and the Warrington players are not going to be considered for this test. So Sam Tompkins gets a one-match ban, but he can use this test. But he wasn't going to be considered for it. How's that right?
Well, there you go. Good evening to Keith Mason, our friend, of course. He says, blah, blah, blah. Well, Keith, we'll be talking PDRL soon, so we look forward to your comments on that one. Moving on. Wigan, Warrington. Warrington Cass says we've got to find a way to win these big games. Wigan, no. Bill Carr, our friend, has been on, big Wigan fan, so the pressure he thinks at Wigan next year is more off the field. Got to grow their attendances, etc.
Yes, yeah. But how do you do that when you're selling off your crown jewels? That's where it has to transfer onto the field, because if they're going to not replace like for like, and in some respects you can't, then you've either got to have a very good set of juniors that the crowd are going to get behind because they're all local lads and they might mean that they don't win some games that they should have done, or you've got to see and believe that there's something coming up when Sean Edwards takes over in 2020 that's worth supporting this year. I think it could be a very telling year for them. Obviously the attendance was down. That links into several things. That transport was an issue. Great Northern Rail supporters of the game, but we can't get a train with Northern Rail on the day of the grand final. That was going to, I think, affect neutral fans. Manchester was predominantly gridlocked, especially if you wanted to go to the women's final first and then you had to sit in the traffic and get over to Old Trafford. So I think there are some extenuating circumstances, but also the game needs to look at the fact that that was the lowest attendance since 2009. 2009 it was relatively low because it was the third time that Leeds had played St Helens in a grand final. Yeah. So I think if you look at the attendances over the last 15 years, this Saturday's was one of the lowest. I think that's partly because we've played this game 6 times this season. That was the 6th time that Wigan and Warrington. That rules neutrals out of it. There is spectator fatigue when it's the same teams all the time. That's something that does need to be looked at, that isn't going to be solved by having loop fixtures. I think the fact that the Challenge Cup final is significantly down this year, that the Grand Final is now down this year, that's telling us that people at the moment have a problem with our product. They're not prepared, if they don't support the 2 teams that are there, to go out and support the event. And that's something that Rob Elston needs to look at. That he knows, but we do need to look at that.
They could have filled it with Hall of Famers and former Man of Steel, still enough team.
Yeah. Where do we go with that? Because I just look at it from a neutral's point of view. We were lucky enough to be covering the game live on national radio. They allocate 2 hours for a game and it runs 15 minutes over. And it's like, it's an 80-minute game.
Yes.
Now I understand head injuries, and we're going to talk after 7 about how we improve the game. We need to improve it, don't we? And I know there are some quick wins and there are some not so quick wins, but 2 hours 15 for a game is not on.
Right, but when you're looking at, you mean all about improving it? What to keep it in the well, the big question I'll put then to watch the game is, where's the quality coming from? What quality is coming to the game? Where is it? That's a big problem. I'm reading Neil Hodgell's part, with Wilkie Rovers, he's with injuries what he's got, the players what they've released. Yeah, they're on the lookout for quality players, but as he says, there's no quality players out there in the market. So the big problem is people now are realising, well, I'll pick and choose my games rather than getting season tickets. And when, say for instance, OKR when they play the likes of Wigan and Saints, they'll pick and choose the games rather than going to every game. lack of quality players, mate. That's one of the reasons.
The only way you'll get quality players, where we are at the moment, and this is probably starting to debate a bit early about how you change the sport, is to allow entrepreneurs to spend the money they want to bring star names in. We're at a point now where we've just crowned Ben Barber the best player in the competition.
Yeah.
He's leaving. The players that are coming over from Australia predominantly are either soiled goods looking to rehabilitate themselves, or they're not top level players. Our top level players, John Bateman in particular, who I thought was absolutely outstanding again in a very different role Saturday, and I think he made something like 50 tackles, and he's now going over there. At what point do we say the lack of quality, however that is defined, is because you haven't got the access to quality players? And again, talking to people like David Argyle, had Toronto gone up, they were going to do that. There are some names apparently on a piece of paper that Toronto have in their safe that they would have pulled out if they'd have made Super League this year, and they're not blaming anybody other than themselves for not making it, who people would have gone, wow.
You see, this is what I'm going to say
But
to you.
there's not enough of that.
This is what I'm going to say to you, Phil, right? There's nobody you would say has that wow factor who's going to put bums on seats. Would that be the right comment to make?
There are, but you've really got to go the extra mile to get them, because the market that we're in at the moment...
I'm on about who's in Super League at this moment in
No,
time. I'm looking for the
absolutely.
2000 season 19.
Yeah.
There's nobody to say, I'll tell you what, even though I'm a Leeds fan, I'm going to go watch you play for Wigan. Even though
I
I'm a
think-
St Helens fan, I'm going to go watch you play.
Blake
Like St Helens fans, will they go watch Blake Austin at Warrington? Has he got that sort of wow factor? It's a big problem.
He has. I mean, Blake Austin will be costing Warrington a lot of money. He will be a marquee signing. That's, if you're serious about regenerating the interest in the sport, that's who you got to go after.
But is Simon Moran one of the few owners
Yes.
that can say, well, I'm up, right,
Yes.
okay, I'll pay it.
Yes.
There aren't those owners in our game. Is that the problem?
Well, maybe there are some owners that would like to be in our game at a higher level that are being given hoops to jump over, which may or may not be right to get to that level. But, you know, there's a guy at Newcastle who's prepared to spend some money. He's you know, Liam Finn is a really good signing for League One next year. If Gareth Hock does join him there, you can see that they're starting to almost, at that lower level, build a super team. So there are people there that are prepared to invest. But we need to start with, again, with where is the sport going as regards full-time and part-time? Don't you want all of your best players playing in your top division?
It's a fair point. What do you think? What would you do at home? What would you add, change to the game? I'm going to go early with a couple of mine. We know that, well, we believe that the shot clock is coming in for the dropout. Needs to happen straight away. It's an
So is that
instant-
There's a guy there collapsed because
there's a guy there, so we can't carry on because he's injured.
There's nothing wrong with it.
What's the shot on? 30 seconds on a
There's
minute.
still 40 seconds on
No,
it.
that'll do for me. 30
Right.
seconds will do, yeah.
And can I just say
for
now?
scrums, I think you'll get a shot.
And can I just say now, right, that I think for goal kicks it should be a minute, not a minute off the clock and then take 5 hours wiping your brow.
Yeah.
I've noticed Luke Gale started a phenomenon now. Everyone wipes their face and they're pulling the sock. Just kick the goal. Then use NFL. They get a touchdown. They all run on. Just boot the goal.
I've got another one as well. We've got to stop going to the video referee.
Yeah.
Because
you know, we didn't really go to the video referee the other day. It still took 2 1/4 hours.
for the try at the end that Toby King clearly didn't score.
Yeah.
Rob Hicks, who had a great game,
Yeah.
could not have been stood any closer. He was
He
virtually
said no
holding,
try, didn't
and
he?
he said no try.
Yeah.
But the video referee still had to have 105 looks at
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I get that.
So what I'm saying is we need to be stricter about the use of the video. Invest in the refs' decisions.
Yeah.
Rob Hicks got that absolutely right.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think, again, we should compare with the NRL all the time, but the bunker seems to be quicker. They'll have one look, bloke's in touch, we'll go to the... we
Yeah,
need to have
got a
we
decision.
need to see it from 15 angles.
Yeah, no, I
and
get
slow
that.
it down.
I get that. So
And that's one of the
those
things.
are things straight away. You know, Manfredi the other day gets his injury, cut eye.
Yeah.
He stood on the touchline. In fact, I think he went off the field when he got injured. And yet, I know it's a head knock, but it was a cut. We know that he was not injured. He didn't get head tested, did he? And yet we have to wait for him to walk all the way around across the field. Just walk around the field. Why couldn't he have just done that? That's not a crit. It's just a thing to speed up the game.
But
Why are we
it
stopping
is also every single dropout now at the moment.
That's
Players are
pathetic.
being injured on every
Pathetic.
team. We're not
You
picking
know,
on
an
any team.
easier way to get rid of it. Say if you get a drop out, you get a tap 40 metres out.
Yeah.
Just do that,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
tap it whenever you're ready. So, but there are ways to speed it up and make it a
Yes,
little
and
bit
I think
more.
that's what Rob Elston is really keen on. speed of the game.
What about getting into scrums? Should they play the ball?
I think the only good thing about a scrum is that it does give you the chance to have some set plays. What we need is coaches that are going to reintroduce some set plays.
Set plays at scrums. What, a front row taking a drive or a second row taking a drive? What sort of set play is that?
Maybe that needs to change.
Just hitting the 50, hit the 50. What set play, Phil? We don't have them. Front rows and second rows are taking drives from scrums.
Bring them back.
Bring back
I mean, that's the other thing about rushing to form a scrum, and as soon as you've got your 6 men there, the clock stops, and then all those 6 men go and run back to where it's now. Those 6 men have got to
you
form
run to stop the clock, and then it's still 5 minutes before.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and then,
what's the point?
But then what do you get? The scrum half will put it in, he'll pass it. Oh, no. Reform, and you think, oh no, he's going to do exactly the same, and they'll play on.
Yeah. I think if a differential penalty because someone's moved a little bit early.
I think the free play has to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because again, that's adding time.
Yeah.
You've got a chance to do something. Oh, you didn't do it. Let's bring the ball back 50 metres and have the knock
In
on.
fact, Alan's just said that the free play rule, if a player kicks more than 20 metres, it's play on. Stop time and
Just
just go
don't
back
have it.
60, 70 metres.
Just don't have it. Save the time it takes to not do anything with the free play and go back to where you were and just have the scrum if it's a knock on or whatever.
I'm hoping Nicholas in Toronto is still listening because here's a word for you to learn from Robin. The bunker has got several experts watching 15 screens. We've got a Doylan with one button. It's a bit harsh. He's got a fan club as well.
Patient.
Yes.
Oh, dear
Yes. Yeah.
Elsewhere, people saying we need to change the coverage of the sport. We'll come to that later. Paul asking, what was the whole game experience like at the grand final? Did they offer more than just a game? Don't know. Got there and went straight in.
Blossoms were.
Blossoms. They seem to go down well with the young people.
The popular beat combo went down with the younger
A bit
generation.
like.
I couldn't even name you one of their songs.
Well,
I
like
really
a-
couldn't.
Somebody
Like
did
a new spiral count.
stop on the way in and said they bought ticket to see Blossoms.
There you go. So that
Who was
works.
Blossom?
They'll have been disappointed. How long were they on for?
4 songs. I think.
They were
2 before. and
Who
two-
were they?
Blossom. No, don't worry.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry.
Who
You
gets,
don't need
It
to
wasn't-
your disco.
It wasn't Mantovani.
who's in charge of the rules of rugby league anyway?
Well, that's the big question because you did, and we've probably gone early on the topic, but
Yeah, we've gone. Let's crack.
one of the things we need to decide, and it goes back to governance that we've spoken about ever since Rob Elson was appointed, the laws can only be changed by the RFL. So it's all very well going public saying we're going to clean up the game, we're going to speed up the game, we're going to get the game we want. Is the RFL now just a patsy for the Super League?
I think to a certain
Because
degree.
whatever rules you're going to bring in, surely have to affect every division.
Yeah, but are they not? They are good rules, are they?
Well,
they're for
but,
the
that's not,
benefit
but
of
there is a
everyone, aren't
process, isn't there? And it's the RFL rules committee that changes the rules, not the Super League chairman.
I'm not being rude, right? It's easy for us to criticise Sky. And people, I saw this, oh, no build-up, no whatever at the end. It's very hard when you don't know how long the game is going to be.
And you've got the live sport to go to.
What you've got to bear in mind when everyone goes, oh, NFL took 3.5 hours. When you're at the stadium, it don't feel like it takes 3 hours because there's always something happening when you're there. But a lot of that is actually controlled by the TV people. They have TV timeouts where they go, right, stop, we're having some adverts. But it's alright, it's not great, but that's part of what they are. For Sky, as we were on TalkSport the other night, we were due to go off air at 8 o'clock. We'll take the show lift if it's just after 8 o'clock. 10 past 8 is still playing, and it's like, we're going to have to cut, we're going to have to get rid of it. You can't do that.
No.
If you're broadcasting, Sky want that game to last 2 hours max so they can clean in, clean out. And we don't have that, and that needs to stop. That needs to stop. And it didn't feel there were any unnecessarily big delays of the night, but there were, when you look back, there were loads of them, weren't there?
And again, that you talk about how do you make the play exciting, how do you get neutrals involved, how do you get new spectators? You have to have flow. You have to. And
Which
At the
incidentally,
moment-
the way the games were reffed, I thought because of the last penalties, it does go quicker, but we kept then stopping for other things.
yeah,
I don't know. So yeah, go on. What were you saying?
Well, Don says it was rubbish, the whole day experience of them. She got there at 1:15. We were still, the women's grand final only
Only just kicked off.
Should have gone, Don. Should have gone. Marty says, don't mind the NFL, but it does sometimes feel like the game gets in the way of the advert breaks. They pay the money.
Yeah.
Scott says we should stop the Sky monopoly. Get people watching on ITV and BBC like they do with Union. The only rugby union on ITV is the World Cup. on Channel 5
They've got,
for Channel
they've got
4.
a couple of Champions League games now on
Channel
Channel
4.
4 because the RFU paid for those games.
And they can sell those advertising slots to Land Rover and pension funds and this and that and the other, and we can't because of the way we portray ourselves in the sport. Yeah.
I know that's
The problems with our sport and the way it's presented is because of us. It's our fault.
Yeah.
And nothing changes.
The
Nothing
other thing
changes.
that Rob Elston has quite clearly wants to do is create more personalities to go out and sell. I think you can only do that through the international game. I think that you can play Huddersfield and Warrington 100 times and it's not going to make the players that play for those teams any more visible than they are at the moment. But what we did see a little bit when England got to the World Cup final was people suddenly start to talk about the sport and write about the sport who wouldn't normally. And that's why I think these internationals coming up are so important. That's why I think it's also slightly concerning that the mid-season test doesn't look like it's going to happen next year. Not least because England, unless they're going to go and fly over to Australia to play Samoa possibly, which I don't think they will outside of an impending World Cup. I don't think they've got the funds to anyway. We'll have less internationals, but we're building up to... There's two things on the horizon that will salvage the sport at the moment. One is a renewed television deal, and one is the 2021 World Cup, which I think great strides are being made to promote that, to get towns and cities involved in that, to get businesses that don't normally associate with the sport to get involved with that. The trophy itself was in Holland and Germany this weekend, again, just raising awareness of an international dimension of the sport. There were workshops there, not just for people that play rugby league, but for businesses saying you can get involved in the World Cup. I think the internationals that we've got with New Zealand, particularly on the back, as Scully was saying about the way New Zealand performed this week, could be massive. But we have to divert some money into promoting them.
Well, have we promoted this sort? Have we promoted this sort?
But if you haven't got the money, how do you promote it?
Who are the personalities then in rugby league? Because I'm extremely concerned they're going to go down the route of having people like, to use a football analogy because it's easier, the likes of Jimmy Bullard and their fake, hilarious banter, who we're going to promote as these people who actually just come across as complete idiots and morons. Who are the personalities? In Scully's era is obviously him and Ellery Hanley or whatever, not Ellery Hanley, but you know what I mean. Those kind of people who...
But first of all, that personality is on the back of excellence.
Yeah. If you ask a man in a pub now, right, who name me 5 big rugby league players, they probably would go back to Sculthorpe and whatever, wouldn't they? Who would they name now? Tompkins, maybe?
I'm not sure the names.
Burgess,
I'm not
perhaps,
sure.
because he did have a small spell in... That's Sam, by the way.
Tompkins played for
Sam.
Tompkins played for the Barbarians once, didn't he? So they might
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not George, who today has come out
The
saying
one
he
from
wants to sign
Leeds,
for
yeah.
Leeds. But
Can't afford him, mate, by Sean or
I
Locker.
think, from what he said, he'd walk to Headingley on hands and knees.
Yeah,
Would
but it wants paying enough, Phil.
Yeah.
Pretty voluntary.
It's on £3 an hour. Let us know what you do to change the game. I think lots to do. I want to talk about the international game. We're all excited it's here, but it's all right us being excited about it. We'd be excited next week if it was whoever. It's the people outside the game we need to see the game. Come back to the question.
Well, you're right, but also all rugby league fans need to buy tickets. Because the
don't have to, it's free. You can watch it online.
No, I don't mean the Wednesday one. That I can't.
What is the
We're
purpose
just
of this
ignoring
game?
that after.
What is the purpose of this game on Wednesday?
Give some people
Well, I
caps.
presume it's to.
It's the equivalent of an international friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but what I say is that the 3 games against New Zealand, as rugby league fans, whoever you support, get some tickets, because we haven't supported Wembley as an event. We haven't really supported the grand final as an event. It's the neutrals that are missing, not the fans of the teams that we're playing. These are 3 international events which, Scott will tell you better than anybody, galvanises every club should get behind England now. You've got a game that you're going to see, a 3-match series against New Zealand, where you're going to see some of the best players in the world. You've got Australia at the moment who...
They're in transition, don't worry about that.
Yeah, who are coming back to England and New Zealand in some way because they have to, because they've lost 4 or 5 of their
Why couldn't they have been in transition last year?
But that makes it exciting because England and New Zealand, the winner of this series, becomes the challenger.
Well, Carson's coming from Switzerland to go watch the game at Liverpool.
But
And the
also-
people in Liverpool won't bother
Good
going.
job we didn't change the day of the game.
Yeah,
But, you know, but also as well, Phil, do you know what? I'd love to go to the game on Wednesday as an ex-international captain.
Have you not
I
got
thought, oh, you don't really want to go to the league.
Oh yeah, I tell you.
Oh, you're like, oh,
No,
you're
not been invited. I would love to. I would love to go. And you know what? I would love to go into the sponsors' boxes and tell them how important it is
Michael,
and how great it is.
Is there a sponsor?
To play. You know, to play for your country and what it feels. How the lads
Or
feel
even
like.
talking to the players.
That's
You
not-
know
that's not
Wayne.
happen, is it?
You know Wayne, don't
Maybe Eddie Johnson.
Sure,
you? No, Wayne Bennett.
do me a
Good
favour.
friend.
He's here now. He's on the telly.
Should this match not have taken place in France?
Yes,
Yes.
I agree.
100%.
So why? Just
It's a double header with the women's international, which
Possibly,
they're
yeah.
also playing France.
And the French are a very different opponent in France. You
Oh yeah,
That's what
you
I'm
play France at home and it's like, yeah.
There's no
But
benefit. is
play
there?
France away, it's very intimidating.
Mm.
I think the other thing as well, I thought it might be a cost issue, but really hearteningly, the whole of the England squad is going to the World War One battlefields over in. I think we are the only international that's being played on the centenary of Armistice Day. I think the RFL need to be commended for taking it incredibly seriously. The shirt that they issued today with the poppy on has been universally well received. I think taking all of the players over to the World War One battlefields in France with Damien Clayton from the RAF, who's going to talk to them about the military side of things. Brilliant. But why couldn't we play France over there if we're doing that? Go from the battlefields down to Carcassonne, play the game. There's no game next weekend. The New Zealanders are coming in, so you've got plenty of time to get back and prepare. Maybe a missed opportunity.
Can I just mention as well? You mentioned the troops on there. On Friday night, I was over in Manchester doing the RAF presentations for them. And by the way, fellas, I met a couple of interesting gentlemen who work for a massive company, and they're interested to listen. They listen every week, enjoy the show. So hopefully, maybe a little bit of sponsorship there, boss. But what I want to say is the RAF are launching their Airman's League in January. They've asked me to become the ambassador. I'm going to become the ambassador for that new league from there, for the Airman's Rugby League, which is going to be set up out in January from there as well. So looking forward to that. Should be pretty competitive, and hopefully the gentlemen who are listening from the company who hopefully going to get part of us, then I say they'll get involved.
Are they going to make you do the assault course? If they are, can we come down?
I've done
Yeah,
it. I've
we
done
come down.
I did the.
Okay, to that.
or can I learn some guns so we can
No, I'm saying
you. We can encourage you. We can encourage you.
Listen, I'll tell you, Mal really took us to Catterick for the weekend, Friday till Sunday. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in our life. It was absolutely awful, just too tough.
I think there's
It was awful. Oh,
You're
mate, it was awful.
armed
Too hard.
forces,
Too hard.
absolutely vital. But I think the other area that we need to exploit is the university game.
Yes.
The game is being played. Get the door. The
Half time, by the way, listen.
I'm ready.
Half time.
All you fans out there, I'm ready.
Who's
I'm ready
gone?
for England. I'm ready. Eh?
The
I'm ready for England.
the sport is spreading geographically through the student game more than any other. I think there are a lot of people that come into contact with the sport through being a student, be that either as a player or on the social side of things. I'm not sure what the alumni network is like, but when you get England and New Zealand, 3 tests, the student network would be perfect for getting involved and spreading the word.
Oh, wait, no,
The international days are great days out, and club loyalties are put aside. The whole crowd bands together. I just think we need to get the sponsors and the commercial partners and the players who play through student rugby league a lot more involved, particularly with the international conferences.
Well, this test series now coming. We want New Zealand into Australia at the weekend. This is going to be mouth-watering. It is. It's going to be mouth-watering. So much looking forward to it. I am.
It was the best result we could have wished for.
Oh, we've had it.
Isn't it?
No
And
two ways
after,
about
after
it.
10 minutes, you thought the Kiwis were going to get an eye.
No two ways about it, you
The
know.
way they came back.
But also, again, when you look at different coaches like Michael Maguire, who's coming again, it's like when Mal went to Australia, bringing that pride back into the Kiwi jersey because it seemed to have gone a little bit amiss from there. But
and it won't do Australia any harm. First defeat
Oh,
on
no.
Mal, and they've now got Tonga.
Well, I'll tell you what,
That's going to be the most intimidating atmosphere.
Well, Australia, now you know, the big problem is for Australia is how do they replace the big five players?
They can't.
You can't replace.
Over time, you can.
You can't replace Slater. You can't replace English. You can't replace Smith. You can't replace
English will come back.
Cooper Cronk. You can't replace Jonathan Thurston. I'll tell you what, when I saw Hunt play and I saw Cherry Evans, I'm thinking, boy oh boy, this is total transition, because when I look at most of the halfbacks in Australia at this moment in time, are they the quality of what they've had over the years? No, they're not. So New Zealand under Maguire, England hopefully under Sean Wayne in a couple of years' time can get us to the World Cup and lift us to the World Cup.
I mean, we don't know how many tickets have been sold for the Test series so far. I know 5 because I bought them. But Sid says we should give schools free tickets, get kids hooked, not rocket science. Do offers to make sure the university students in Leeds know there's a Test match coming up at Allen Road, because
well, you've got 3 big university cities in Hull, Leeds, and Liverpool.
At Leeds the other week at Emerald Headingley, is it still called that?
Yes.
Yeah. They had the rugby union varsity game. It's kind of thing the BBC show on the telly and no one cares about outside of those people that go to those universities. But they had a crowd of 9,500 watching rugby union at Leeds. It's unheard of, listener. Why aren't we getting those people to come down to the Test match? Do they even know it's on? Get the England team to recall, do they know there's a Test series on?
I just think international rugby needs to be the pinnacle, and that calendar is the one that needs to be put in, and everything else fitted around it. And if necessary, the star players play less games because they've got internationals to play. The slight worry with Super League now taking charge of the rules and the structure is that they're not interested in internationals.
That's Phil, that's what I was going to ask you. Who is in charge of the international programme? Is it Super League or is it the RFL? It's the RFL, is it? Right, okay, so it's not Super League, right.
KPW, that's why the first hour of the show only takes an hour and not 75 minutes.
Well, there you go. There you go. New rules.
One of us
New
should
rules.
lay down on the floor.
We have a shot clock on Sky. If you feel he's ranting on, we...
We'll be the show, we should have some head tests on here. About every 10 minutes we should have some head tests, shouldn't we?
Well, I'll tell you what... and
I don't think that's been asked, to be honest with you. Some serious head tests.
I'll tell you where there's some personalities in rugby league that we could promote as a sport, because we're good at this. No, we're not. Is, well, me and Phil. So we were 66% of the independent media on Saturday at the Women's Grand Final. And the other one was from Leeds as well. Some of those women players in Women's Super League, they are great personalities.
Fantastic.
Molly the Rhino was there.
Georgia Roach has been nominated for the Young Sports Person of the Year. I think that's really important. I don't think it'd be a public vote, so let's all not go out and buy 75.
Can I have a run?
Oh God, I think it's.
And she's 18, by the way, not 17.
I want Scully. We'll get Scully's England rant in. In fact, no, we're going to finish off England. You've gone out of sync.
Oh, sorry.
Finishing off England.
To be honest with you, I'm not going to rant about it. I'm not going to rant about it.
Is it a detriment of our game that he's playing? And that, you know, that sounds harsh to say.
Yeah, it is.
And I've no axe to grind with him. Like, not you haven't got you don't think he's good enough to play for Leeds. That's your opinion. You're welcome to it. I think he'll do all right if he plays for England. I don't think he'll let anyone down. I'd happily see him play. But is it the problem that we haven't got enough?
Correct.
We are, and this is no disrespect to him. But if he wasn't available, who would have been next?
Well, to be honest with you, I would have picked Danny Maguire before Richie Myler.
I think the shame is that Danny Richardson's injured at this point of the season, because I think he would have been one of the ones that stepped up from the Knights to fill that role.
Yeah, but it's
to be honest with you, the way he's played for the last 10 games, Richie Myler's been playing better than him.
Well,
so does he deserve to be picked for him?
I think he's been picked on full.
Does he deserve? Well,
I think he has been picked on his full.
He's a next cab off the rank.
Yeah, I'll buy into that. But it just shows you the lack of strength in depth we've got. We haven't got any.
The way Wayne Bennett likes to play is he wants his halfbacks to do certain things at certain times. Richie Myler's exactly the kind of guy that can do that for him.
Well, why did he pick Richie Myler before? Why didn't he pick him when he played at Catalans last year?
I don't think he's been. I personally don't think he played as well at Catalan as he has played this year at Leeds. And I think we've seen it more because he hasn't had a pack round him and he hasn't had a half-back partner. So I think his performances have been consistently good in a poor team.
Yeah, the same. There's not going to be a rant about Richie Myler being selected for England. It's the situation was arise for him. You know, he's not played for England. He hasn't been anywhere near selection since 2012. But it's in a predicament from a point of view where we can't pick anybody else. You know, it's
part of that because too many clubs look to Australia first.
Phil, I've been saying this for the last 20. I've been saying this for the last 20 years. You know, and we've got to start. We've got to start listening. You know, and we've got to start believing that the point of it is, front rowers, the second rowers are your best players over the league fields. It's your halfbacks on there. And the detriment what we have got into the game, we ain't got any. We haven't got any.
Well,
so this is not.
I think we would have had a chance.
It'd come into contention. There's no ways back. But Phil, don't get me ranting now. I'll tell you about picking Australian, about picking an Australian for England.
He's eligible.
But I'm not having it.
He's been looked at.
Rubbish. I'm not having it. I'm not having
Like
Jackson
Austin
Hastings.
next year.
I'm not having an Australian playing at halfback certainly for England. I'd rather play. I'm ready for it anyway.
People want to know where you've stolen that jumper from.
It isn't. I'm ready for England.
Where did you get it from?
I've got my shorts on. I'm ready. I'm ready for Wednesday. Me, don't worry about that.
Put me off
I'm
with
ready.
caramel crisp.
But it's a circumstance up there, and we've got to it. Like, as we know what happened with him at Leeds 3 years ago when I says he's ready now to take over the mantle of Maguire and Burrow. And where is he? He might as well be sat with me. He's that good. And we all know what about in Jordan Ulley. Don't we? But halfback seem to get the blame for everything. But what I will say is, I wonder if it's not scrum half. I wonder if they said to Kevin Brown if he's coming out of retirement. But the way Brown has been playing, he's not good enough anyway for international rugby league anymore. From there. So, but no, there's no rant from me for Richie Myler.
No.
In this, well, I've got to be honest, Matt, because the predicament what he's in, he's been selected, and I'm being honest, he's been selected because quite simply, there's nobody else.
Okay. Well, we should get in. I'm assuming it's Neil's lad, Dexter, because he's watching the show. After scoring his 38th try of the season yesterday for Eastmore under 8s.
Well done.
Get him in there.
Simon Hawke.
Does he play with vision and awareness?
Does he need
That's
an
what
agent?
I want to know.
Does he need an agent?
Yeah.
Still trying to send
Dave wants to know, are they going to use Scoy for bayonet practice at the army? Yeah, that leg.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at that?
No. They're going to do a flyover the RAF boys and try and bomb you.
Don says Matty Smith. Who?
Yeah. Well,
remember him, he used to play. Former Sheffield Eagle, Matty Smith.
Yeah.
Who's going to play at standoff? If he's playing 7, who's going to be at 6? Oh, George Williams.
What's that Callum lad? Where's he?
No, he's not playing. No,
Get him in.
Wigan or Warrington
Can't
plays
play.
against France.
Yeah, but for New Zealand, so it's going to be Myler and Williams or Myler and Connor.
I think it depends how Myler plays against France. He's got a...
Well, if you don't pick Myler, who's going to pick at 7? Who's going to be the halfbacks? Connor and Williams?
Ollie Holmes.
Well, we'll figure short. Hey, listen, we're a serious show. Come on, fans. Head test. Get a head test of Mark Wilson coming out.
Here's Martin. He says the problem with the England game now that it's not the pinnacle for the players to be in anymore. Players now deciding to have operations and clean-ups done now so they're fit for the club game next season.
No, that's the fault of the game, making them play too many games. Exactly. If it was a 20-game season or a 27-game season or whatever, and you could play and then have it, you'd have it. But it's too long. If they have an op now, there's a chance they'll be fit for the start of the season. They delay it another month, they're not going to be back.
But also as well, another dilemma I will say is that, well, the clubs themselves, Phil's mentioned it's not Super League who run the international game, they don't have any interest. As Phil has just mentioned, it's simple. The Super League clubs don't care less about the international calendar.
It's not their top priority.
Well, I'm just telling you then, I'm being honest, I'm being blunt about it. They don't care about the international calendar because they want their players ready for the new season, which they cannot blame them because they pay their wages.
14 home games.
Yeah,
which means the season will start again at the beginning of February.
You can't blame the clubs for that because they're paying their wages.
That was one of the other debates we were having in our car on the way back home, is that you can be the best team over a large section of the Super League season, but it is an endurance because you start in the snow under frost, you then might have rain, you then have a couple of months where it's sunny and the pitches are hard, and you get to the grand finals and it's back to drizzle or heavy rain or fog or wind or whatever. To be a good team over all of those conditions over such a length of time, it's a different sort of test. And again, shorten the season, playing the best time of the year.
It's not going to happen, Phil.
It isn't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
All right, can I ask you the question then, Phil? You know, like Castleford last year and St Helens this year, these are the best side. If it had been a short season, do you think they would have won the grand finals?
Yes.
You think?
Yeah.
In what way?
Because I think they both were suffered from playing games towards the end of the season where
meaningless.
They were just treading water. That there weren't the intensity that you need to go into a final. Use Leeds as an example when they won it from 5th. Every game they've had to win has had an intensity about it. It's been like a cup tie. So when they get to the final game, they're ready for it. If you've been a Castleford or a St Helens, you've played really, really well for the bulk of the season. Then you've got a group of games where you don't have to be at your best, and the coach has to decide: is he going to rest players, or is he going to change the tactics maybe because it doesn't matter whether you get the 2 points or not. And then you've suddenly got to throw yourself into a semi-final. It can count against you.
Dawn has asked a question which I think was brought up in our car on Saturday. Who dictates the length of the season and the number of games? We keep going on about player welfare and the season being too long, but do nothing about it. Why?
Because money. Exactly. The clubs can't survive without 14 home games. There you go. There's a simple answer, isn't it?
They don't think they can.
No.
Simple
But
answer.
until they want the game to grow. I'm going to say this now, right? The chairman want the game to grow, but in my opinion, the chairman are stopping the game growing because they won't say, right, we're going to bite the bullet, we're going to have 11 home games and we're going to sell them all out.
Yeah.
You know, this is a problem. You look at St Helens, we mentioned it last week, Wigan, 8,000 home fans. That's not paying for any marquee players. You need more fans than that. And that's all clubs are like that. You know, that's why Leeds, in fairness, despite having a bad year, still the crowds kept. But even then, they waned off a little bit at the end. We need more speckies going, and that means you need more games. You know, it might not have been a classic on Saturday night, right? It might not have been a classic, but you were there, and it was the game was always going to the wire. There was something. The hits were hard. The atmosphere was great. How many games we had like that this year?
I think you've hit the
issue
issue on the head exactly there. Somebody independent of the clubs needs to tell them the guy who they've got in, who is going to change the game, is paid by the clubs. And it goes right back to the very beginning when we heard Rob Elston might be available. I think we all agreed that he needed to be the chief executive of the sport, so that he could actually go back to some of the chairmen that want to help him shape the future of the sport and say, I get what you need, and 90% of the time you'll get what you need, but the other 10%, I've got to think of the wider game, and I've got to put internationals first. I've got to put the Lions tour somewhere, which nobody's talking about. You know, we're going to have a World Nines apparently. When do we start playing that? All of the things that we think
we've mentioned
generate new money.
We've mentioned this before. Is what the purpose of this game on Wednesday, right? It's free on our league, right? And some people think, yeah, that's great. So it's free on our league. You can watch it. Brilliant. We really want fans to go to the game and generate some money for the game. But you don't have to go because you can watch it for free. And it's on a Wednesday night in Leigh, which is not a great place to get to. And it's going to be cold. So what's the point of us going? Just imagine, you mentioned the mid-season test, right? You only get 11 home games, so you're thinking, actually, I want to watch a bit more rugby league.
Correct.
And we're going to Man City, 50-odd thousand, 50-odd thousand there against Australia. They're coming, we've paid them, they're coming. 50-odd thousand, paying £20 a ticket, raises over £1 million. You say to the clubs, right, well, if we raise £1 million, you all get 50 grand each if we sell it out. There's your money for your less home games. And then we've got 3 games at the end of the year that's going to generate another £1 million a game. But no, not in rugby league, because we'll have games at Hull. No disrespect to Hull. Hull's 25,000, right? They'll be giving tickets away. I've no doubt they will. There's no forward thinking. This is where people go on about rugby union. All the money comes from Twickenham holding 80,000 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year.
Absolutely.
You have to chop your arm off to get a ticket to go to them games.
And the
in our game, if you're in the pub at the right time, you'll get a free one.
With the greatest respect, that they're not going because of the quality of the product. They're going because it's an event.
And by the way, with rugby union, you have to apply for your tickets. So you have to send them the cheque. So within 6 months, you don't know if you're going to get the tickets. So if you don't get the tickets, they send you your cheque back. But what they're doing on your money, they're all earning interest on that, and they could fill Twickenham 3 or 4 times over. What's that rubbish? Do you know what I mean? But it's great marketing and promoting.
I think that's where until. And we're all talking about improving the game until they say, right, this is what we're doing, and we're having breaks there, and there for international games. Then I think.
If you're gonna stream this game, and we've got an issue with streaming at the moment because we've gone from let's not stream anything to if it moves, we'll film it.
We'll film it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the quality threshold is, you can see it somewhere.
Yeah.
And often you've got the choice of watching 3 different things at the same time. So on this Wednesday night, if you need to get people to the game, either delay the streaming of it. So we'll film it, but you can't see it till after midnight. So people will go. Or you make a small charge for it because it's England.
Well, they missed the boat, didn't they, by charging for the first ever one. That's the one when no one could have gone. That's the one you make it
to
free.
Australia.
And you say, right, so England, it's free. You can watch it. It's free. Sign up. It's free. And all of a sudden, you get 100,000 people watch it, however many watch it. And that gives you then a commodity to go to someone else and say, well, we've got all these lists, all these viewers, you want to sponsor it or whatever, blah, blah,
We've
blah.
got all of their email addresses if you want to sell
Or
products.
you say, right, you can watch the France game, it's 15 quid a ticket, or you can watch it at home for a £5. It's up to you, you're more than welcome. You let us know what you want to do and we'll sort that out for you. So they should have done that, because then you've got to talk Papua New Guinea. We'll all want to watch them games, even though it's only the nights. We'll all want to see, you tell us how great the atmosphere is. We want to see what it's like.
You want it in your living room, don't you? You want it in your living
We
room.
haven't said whether we're streaming those games.
Yeah, but my point is,
And that one,
would you have said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay 10 quid for a 3
Yes.
game.
Yes.
I'll pay it. I'll buy them. I'm happy to
Absolutely,
pay it.
100%.
But there isn't, and you made this point, right? I know we're going to go on it in a minute, the women's game, and people look at us, right, and they think, oh, they're negative gits, these lot, right? No, we're not, because
We're
there was nothing being streamed, right? Alright, they did the England game, and we inquired about the women's game, right? And together with our friends and colleagues at Proper Sport, put on what I think will have been the most viewed stream of any rugby league game in this country. I would say that'll still be the case now. It's been the most watched game, right? It was on the BBC website, brilliant, for a long time, on the front page, viewed by thousands of people. Now, when we went to do the deal with the Women's Rugby League, and the only reason that those rights were even asked about is because we asked about them, they clearly want Sky or BBC to stream it. Why was it on the BBC website at the weekend? No. Why not? It's the Women's Challenge Cup Grand Final. Why the hell was it in Manchester on the same day? And someone tweeted me and said, oh, I was working as part of the coverage, we did a great job. Not criticising the coverage of it. I'm saying it's on the same day as the men's grand final, right? So what are the Daily Mirror, the Daily Express, the Guardian, what are they going to write about? The women's or the men's game?
Well,
We don't get enough publicity as it is, so we need to maximise everything. Is the story that Sean Wayne's last game has won it, or is it Amanda Wilkinson's won her first ever grand final at Wigan? We all know what the story is, right? So why play it on the same day? Madness.
Or play it on the undercard at the same venue.
Or play it at the same venue, which would have been brilliant, right? We didn't do
Because
that.
everybody's set up then to stream it.
We didn't do that, right? Then next, right, Ralph Rimmer last week, that was the most cringe-worthy, disrespectful media release I've seen, saying, oh, you should really go watch the women's game, it's great. You might as well have had Ralph going like that on the end of it. It was pathetic,
With Eddie
right?
Lane sat next.
Pathetic, right? Don't tell us, we know, we watch it, we know how good it is. You don't have to tell us, go tell everyone else. So what you do is get it on a platform where more people are going to see it. So Georgia Roach, everyone's going to go, who's this guy? I've never seen her. I don't know who she is. And that's the problem they've got. Great, she's on that league, brilliant. She's a great rugby league player. But no one knows who she is because we're not giving her the platform. We're preaching to the converted. And you mentioned it, there's no quality threshold, right? We'll film anything, it's crap. You've got to be better than that. We asked about changing the time. Sorry, this is a rant, but you're having it anyway.
This has been
We
stored
asked-
up for weeks.
About changing the times of the women's rugby league game, because when we inquired about it, we worked at Proper Sport. Proper Sport filmed the Bradford games on at 3 o'clock. What's the point in putting a game on at 3 o'clock when we're already filming a game at 3 o'clock? Let's do it at 1 o'clock. Oh, we can't change it because we've got no referees. What? No, we've got no referee. We can't. It'd be too hard. We can't get your referee, so you can't have a game at 1 o'clock. Right? So we can't do that. Right? This is the. I'm going to say these are the idiots that we're dealing with now. Right? These are the things that we're dealing with in this sport. When the women's game for me, Robert Elson should be looking at this now and going, there'll be some big companies want to sponsor that.
And I think
We
he is.
need some big companies getting eyes on these girls. Right? BBC, can you get it on? If we'd have been, if Proper Sport would have been able to do the game, and they'd have done it again to the standard they did the other one, it'd have been on the BBC website. Hundreds of thousands of people would have seen it.
And you
A few people
would
have
had
seen
a
it.
build up to the grand final.
Yeah.
Because you'd have been watching what became the top 4 teams playing their final fixtures to
Yeah.
determine where they finished in the league. You'd have filmed the semi-finals,
Yeah.
and then you've had a build up to the grand final where you could have previewed it with people actually knowing the players to look out for.
Preview it, give it the respect, give it the build up, have people on the pitch talking about it, make it a big occasion. There are enough people in the sport that care about the sport,
And
but
to
you've
be
got to
honest,
ask them to get
everything you're
involved.
talking about there doesn't have a cost attached to it.
No.
So it's not as though we do it if we have the money to do
Did-
it.
well, hold
no,
on, hold
it's
on.
a logistical thing.
Did we get paid for doing all the game? No, we didn't. We did it to promote the sport. And it's not, oh, we're better than everyone. No, it's not that. give it the respect it deserves. I don't need some crappy Ralph Rimmer email telling me how good Women's Rugby League is, right? I know, right? We were there at the start of it in this year. We were there, right? And then, if it's so important, Ralph, why wasn't it on the RFL website? I thought, you know, I missed the game. I've only got your 2 opinion of it. I was driving, so I couldn't watch it. So what I'll do is I'll go on the RFL website. Oh, there's nothing there. I don't even know the score. I don't even know who's won the game.
Highlights are up now, but after
Now, yeah, but too late.
the world exists on now.
Yeah, I want to watch the winning try on my phone when I'm driving to the game. You know, when I pull up in the car park. Nothing.
I want to see if they were offside.
Oh,
It was,
just does my head. It's something so simple, and yet we do not get it right, and we do not get it right
And
time after time.
To be fair to the highlights on the BBC on Sunday of the men's grand final, they showed a clip beforehand of the women's grand final, but the quality of the stream wasn't good enough to show any more than a clip.
Yeah. So I was under the impression when we did that game, the reason we asked for the contract for the rest of the year and next year, the reason why they thought we didn't get it because the BBC were going to come in. And people go, you're BBC bashing. The best thing for Women's Rugby League now is it gets put on the BBC.
I mean,
It's on every week.
On the
It's on every week.
Every week.
And you can watch it free. It's on the internet. Everyone can watch it. That's the best thing that could happen. And it hasn't happened. Why has that not happened?
And not only that, but the quality of the product
Oh.
is worthy of that platform.
People,
It is.
this is where Ralph's statement falls down because, sorry Phil, it's because a lot of coverage of women's sport at the moment, especially football, is focused around why aren't people watching women's football? This is a great product, you should go watch this. Don't tell people something's great.
Yes.
Because if you force it down their throats, they will go, no, I'm not going. No. What the women's game is, and this is, it's a positive from the fact that it isn't fully professional.
Yeah.
If you understand the way I'm saying this, is nothing against the players and how they train or anything. But if we go back to Scully's age, when players had jobs and couldn't train 7 times a week and were in the gym and the rest of the time they weren't in the bookies watching ground racing or in the pub, you had different. I know, that's what we do now. You had players of different shapes and sizes, didn't you?
Mm.
Whereas now,
Specific roles.
everyone's
as
a
opposed
bloody
to
second
being an
rower,
athlete.
aren't they? Yeah. Everyone looks
Yeah.
the same. And in the women's game, there are different players of different sizes who do different jobs. And it's almost a throwback to how rugby league used to be, but not in a negative. I'm not saying. I'm trying to say this.
It's
is a
very,
positive.
no, I think it's very all inclusive at the minute. It's like rugby league. It's like when you play rugby league at an amateur level. You can tell who plays where, and you know, and I think that's fair to say in the ladies' game.
There are 2 areas that we can make massive gains in relatively quickly: the women's game and PDRL. I think the RFL attitude to both of those at the start of this season was, if we can get people playing, our participation.
When I went to that opening meeting, I
That's all
told
it
you
was
after
about.
5 minutes
It's all
I wanted
about-
to walk out. Well, that disgusted
We
with their
just
attitude.
want more people playing, so
Yeah.
we can tick the boxes
Yeah.
that say our participation has gone up. I think they've been taken aback by how the public have taken to the women's game and how
Yeah.
good the women's game has been. I think Bradford appointing 2 of their retiring players as their
Yes.
coaches next year is a massive step, because not only are they going to be the Bradford women's coaches, they're going to be on the men's scholarship side as well. That's fantastic. You know, that's the impact that the women's game can
Yeah.
make. The fact that somebody like Adam Cuthbertson, who is known in the men's game, is making his name as a coach in the women's game. That 2 of the people that we interviewed after the game that played for Wigan, who set up at the start of this season, said our aim was we hope we'd win one
a
game.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
won the
yeah.
grand final.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think all of the progress has outgrown the sport in many
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, yeah.
And if you're serious about it, every Super League team has to have a women's team. The fixtures have to marry
Yeah,
them.
marry
You
up.
possibly even have to play them as an undercard.
Yeah.
PDRL the same. If you
Yeah.
really, if you want to be in Super League, this is what you've got to have. You've got to have a wheelchair team, you've got a PDRL team, you've got to have a women's team, you have a fixture list where these games can cross-pollinate and get even more into the fans that we saw at the Manchester Regional Arena were not the kind of fans that were going to go on to Old Trafford and watch the men. They were solely dedicated to the women's game.
They're watching their favourites.
But how are you going to change the feel around a game of rugby league? Put an offering on that brings different people in, brings different
Yeah.
sponsors in. Keep them in it. Make it an event. Keep them in the ground for 5 hours because they can see a PDRL game, a women's game.
Why do they want all the games? Why do they want all the games at home? You know, why does Michael Carter want to open his ground? 'Cause you want people in there spending
Maybe
money over the bar.
but maybe
you
you
put
only have
3 games on in a day.
But
you
then
know.
maybe you'd only need 11 fixtures.
Well,
From what you open, what the gate, the turnstiles open at what, half 11, 12 o'clock? You
Yeah.
keep them there, well, half 5, 6, there you go, bingo. Easy.
you know, and what's better for them girls, right? Playing in front of 1,100 people, which crowd, as I understand it, might have been a bit debatable. In a stadium with a running track round it and empty seats,
Yeah, yeah.
or playing in front of a building crowd at a Super League game.
Well,
And if
you've
it's a
done
nice day, they'll come early.
But
Yeah.
you've done it. You've played in PDRL in a
The
Super League
atmosphere,
ground,
the atmosphere,
which is
at
amazing in
Headingley,
itself.
when we
to
won
play.
that game and the beat Wakefield was unbelievable. It was spine-tingling. There were only about 1,500 people there. It was
Absolutely.
spine-tingling. You know what it must be like to play there every week is unbelievable. But for them lads, they can't wait. They want to play there again.
And so will the women.
So it's
But
fine.
how many people all went to watch it and go, even we, when we played it, went,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit more than we thought this, isn't it? You know, the women's game is just like the men, they just crack each other.
I think
and
that
get
the other
stuck
thing
in.
about the women's game that I really, really like, and I've enjoyed watching in many respects more than even the men's game this year, is it's a rugby league that I recognise.
Yeah.
So that the men's game at the moment, there's an overemphasis on the wrestle.
Yeah.
There's an overemphasis on gamesmanship. You know, trying to win that advantage by falling down before a dropout. There's too many reasons to stop the sport. The women's game, because there isn't the same at the play the ball in terms of just trying to slow the game down, it's actually more enjoyable. It's quicker. There's more skill on show because the skillful players get the ball earlier with more space. They're trying things. And if you get to see the highlights of the women's game, there's some real
Caitlin Beavers tried. Just pick the
quick tap.
Wigan kick it out. There's no ball boys behind the goal. Someone has to go get the ball. Quick tap from the 20. Bang. It's at the other end of the field.
So can I ask the question? You know the Women's Super League then? Is that their own league, their own organisation who organises
The
it?
RFL.
So it's the RFL who organise it, I believe. It's not the clubs
But
itself,
at the
individually
moment,
organise the
and
league.
with the greatest respect to every club who's done really well in that division, particularly the lower clubs, it's a mixed standard. So you've got 4 bespoke Super League clubs who will put resource in: Wigan, Saints, Castleford, and Leeds. Where are the other Super League clubs following it? You know, York have been magnificent in that division.
Wakefield have got a team in the
Yeah,
championship.
but they're not in the Super League.
Yeah, but could they be put in now, do we feel?
I think that's the way it's
This
got
is
to
where
go.
it's got to go. You
to
see, I
go.
asked,
It needs to be part of
I
the
asked a
Super
month
League
ago,
licence.
what's the plan? How many teams you got?
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know.
Well,
It starts in
we-
4 months.
We've taken the Women's Challenge Cup final to Warrington because we hope Warrington will have a team.
Yeah.
No, you've taken it to Warrington because Warrington will have a team.
Should we put it on a... I think it should be... I think this week there should have been the women's grand final and that playoff game should have been at the same stadium and at a rugby league ground, in my opinion. I think they missed a trick there.
I think the way it needs to go in the future is part of how we change the look at sport. You said right at the top of the show, what do we need to do to change the sport at the moment? Because it's a bit staid. It feels as though it needs an impetus. Well, how are you going to get quick wins while the chairman still insists on having the number of games that they do, adding a women's element, adding a PDR element, promote your internationals?
I just want to throw in.
That's all you can do.
At Magic Weekend this year, we had that extra game, didn't we, between Toronto and Toulouse.
We did.
Next year, wherever it is, and someone's made the point earlier, we don't know where it is and when it is, how can we promote it?
Well,
Which is perfect.
tell me where the World Club Challenge is.
What we should do at next year's Magic Weekend is Leeds and Wigan play each other again. The
Or
winners of 2
the
trophies versus
women's
Leeds.
Challenge Cup final is played so that it finishes at Magic Weekend.
Yeah,
Why not?
fair point. Why not? Yeah, why
It
not?
might be on Sky might show it.
Yeah.
Sky might show it. Who
So
knows?
when is the World Club Challenge? Because that's February. Never mind Magic, which probably will be in Newcastle, maybe in June.
Do they want to play at the Roosters?
I think they
Do they
will.
want to travel?
I think
Livingston
they'll
will, won't it?
And of course now,
Yeah.
Hull's excuse for being rubbish of going to Australia is blown out of the water by Wigan winning the grand final.
Interesting that the New Zealanders have stopped off for a few days in Dubai on their way here. Could you have a World Club there?
Well, yeah, why not?
Another
Why not?
spectator experience. I mean, the Wigan fans were brilliant going to Australia at the start of the year for the whole game. would they go to Dubai? The trouble is, you've got to tell them now. You can't tell them in January that they're playing in Dubai.
Well, this
in
is the
February.
problem, isn't it?
Yes.
This is the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scheduling.
Yeah, needs sorting.
Nigel says women's game needs to expand, but not by having teams in the Super League just because there's a men's team in the Super League. What incentive is there for others? Could they have a great side but can't be in the WSL because they're associated with a non-Super League men's team? Should rename it, and I said this before, the Men's Super League, because no one will call it that. But
You know what? You know what? My instant response to that is then, yeah, I agree. Every team should have one. Whoever can have one, have one. Great. There'll be like Catalan. I would imagine they're not going to bring a women's team over. There'll be games when the Super League opponent hasn't got a game. On those games, you say, right, well, Castle at home, and they're going to play Lee or whoever, Featherstone, whoever's out.
And
there.
isn't it also about giving an aspiration to the players to play at the highest level?
Yeah.
So look at the way the NRL, again, just because the NRL have done it this way doesn't mean it's the way to do it. But the professional NRL women's competition, they only had 4 teams this year. They only wanted applications from 4, more than 4 applied, but they picked 4 so that all of the best players would be concentrated in 4 teams. They had 3 rounds of games and then a grand final, which was before the men's grand final. And everybody is saying that the quality of those games are out of this world because the talent rises to the top.
Yeah.
But underneath that, there are still women playing lots of rugby league to create the players to go in. And now next year, they're already talking about 6 or 8 teams.
Yeah, but
Because
how
they've
many
proven
teams
it.
now?
Well, why can't we
Huddersfield
do that?
have got junior
Yeah.
women, under 19 women.
Absolutely.
Leeds got under 19s. Castle got under 19.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And you can have a valuable championship where York and Widnes might play, but the top players need to play each other week in, week out.
I just thought when they have a Women's Hall of Fame, they treat the players with better respect than they treat Scott.
Well, go back to the Man of Steel event last Monday and the grand final on Saturday. Not a single retiring player has been feted.
No.
That's just disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, Louis Anderson got an Outstanding Achievement Award, who wasn't even in the room because obviously he's retired and he's been down in Perkins. Not a single other player has been mentioned.
No. It's just
disrespectful.
joke, isn't it? It's a joke. It is a joke.
I tell you as well, because I've not too many people this, but also as well, I've been in the grand final since 2014, so for the last 14 years, and I say since being in the Hall of Fame and being invited for the hospitality. So what I did this year, 2 lads from Munster Parkside are going to Fiji, Jamie Field and Andy Hullock. So I did a function with Sean Long at Parkside about 10 weeks ago. So what I did, so for somebody to come as my guest to the grand final with the hospitality, you know, if you can make a donation to the lads going on tour, you come as my guest, I'll take you, have all the strap-ins, watch a great game, and I'll take you on. Somebody paid £500. Somebody paid £500 to come as my guest to the grand final. Unfortunately, I have to tell them on Thursday, the hospitality's not there. That £500 now from the Players Fund to go to Fiji has had to be returned. Now, how sad is that, boys? How sad is that? How sad is it?
Yeah, I
Eddie
agree.
Jones on your seat.
Huh?
Yeah, Eddie Jones of yours.
Well, you know when
Wayne Bennett,
do you know what when somebody said to me, well, what the hell is Eddie Jones doing in the grand final? He slagged rugby league off.
He did.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less about rugby league. What the hell is he doing at the grand final?
Yeah.
Absolutely pathetic.
Did he buy it?
And as I say, when I had to tell this gentleman that unfortunate the situation was, he said, you know what's going? How disrespectful is that to somebody who, realistically, has been a decent player in rugby league?
I think we can come and sit in here for £500 and have a couple of digestives.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's
Got
quite the
some
same.
good
Caramel crisp.
Yeah. Might be making him a cup of tea.
What we're saying is because he's in the studio and he's in the Hall of Fame. And apparently 3 more people are going in, but I don't think we know anything about it, to be honest. But how many times have we said on this programme in its various guises over the years, we don't do enough to fit the people who put the game where it is.
No.
Time and time again we say this.
No.
For
Agreed.
a ticket, for a...
Well, as I say, I got 2 tickets and I got a car park, but not good enough. Sorry, not good enough.
No.
I'll tell you what, I don't want to copy Australians one little bit, and never have done and never will do. But the way that the Australians, you know, treat their what they call the immortals over there, or treat their ex-players, you know, because you know why? Because they sell the game. when we talk about promoting, when we talk about marketing,
Well, we've seen it. What do they
We've
want to
seen
do?
it.
When we go to like Magic Weekend and all the Aussies are there and they all come over, they all love him. They show you more respect than we do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's sincere.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
This is not a score we love him. We love to kick him at all times, but they do love him. They want to talk to him. They want to be around him.
They've got something called Men of League over there as well, so that when there was horrendous problems with the farmers this year, 3 buses of legends went out to help or promote what was happening.
I'll tell you what, I'll just tell you another story.
I was talking to somebody who works in Cornwall, Cornish rebels, who were a team that are on the rise. They've got some links with St Helens who come down and do a bit of coaching. They bid for a section of the World Cup because they have a new stadium built over there. And I said, you want to get somebody like Scully down to come and do a coaching session maybe, talk to the media? They'd love that.
Yeah, do you know what, Phil?
But why isn't that? Why aren't we organising?
Do you know what, mate? I wouldn't have any hesitation. It's like I did a function before Wembley for the Armed Forces, and Andy Gregg was there, and Alan Bateman, also to Kevin Ellis. Last Friday I did the do for the RAF, and now absolutely delighted they've asked me to be their ambassador. But when you talk about the Men of League, when Jonathan went to go play in Australia in 2011, I went out there for 3 weeks just to go watch how it went. And anyway, there was an advertisement at Men of League. They were having a charity night at the Trots out in Australia, so it was in the newspaper. So I said to Jonathan, I said, "Do you fancy this tonight?" So he said, "Oh, he said, how do we get tickets, Dad?" I said, "Well, there's a gentleman here to contact. I'll ask the question." So when I phoned him up, and believe it or not, as soon as I started talking, he went, "I recognise that voice." I said, "All right." I said, he said, "You're not Gary Schofield, are you?" So I said, "Yeah, I am." I said, he said, "Well, what are you phoning for?" I said, "Well, I've seen your advert regarding the Trots and the Men of League." He went, "How many tickets do you want?" I went, "Well, the possibility. My son's over here playing in Charlestown. Could we have 4 tickets?" Tell you what's going. Delighted. You have your 4 tickets, and we will make sure you are very much looked after. Listen, fellas, when we got there, the food from there, you couldn't buy a drink. They were just literally delighted to see ex-rugby league players to be part of what they organise from there, and it makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Feel as though, the respect.
That's like when I went out with Brett Kenny.
The respect what you
he didn't
deserve.
bring his wallet, and everywhere he went, he was just getting free drinks. That's like you, isn't it?
Well, at times, we're not chasing.
He brought a tenner out with him. I'm sure.
We're not chasing free, but what I'm saying is, fella, again, it's all about respect. And the Men of League that night could not do enough. Not just for myself, but also for Jonathan and his mate, Luke Arbottle was playing there, and Rico I was staying with. You feel appreciated.
It links back to what you said right at the top of the show. Where are the quick wins where we can get a greater profile for the sport? So you hire a minibus, you put him in it, you put Malcolm Real in it, you put Paul Sculthorpe in it. You send
Manny Fire, Sean Higgins going back into the game.
No, but you send them down to a region for a week. You set up with the local press, the local community clubs.
We tell them about the product, we tell them what product we've got, and that's Rugby League, that's what we do.
Alright, we can't afford full-time development officers. Let ex-players do it.
We're getting the bus, getting the dance commentary. What are you like?
They love you down there.
But to be honest,
I say love,
but I say, fellas, to be honest with you, I feel sorry for Hunswick Parkside because the funds what were raised that night, they're having to give now. 2 lads who were going on tour, they're going to be British Lions for the amateur game. The club Hunswick Parkside, they're going to have to give £500 back.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, well, maybe you should have said that to RFL and put it on their toes before the event. And yeah, but maybe you should have done. I don't know. You live and learn, don't you? What's happening in social media, Rich?
Elsewhere, people talking about many and various things. Robbie's asked us a quiz question, which we'll give this one out because A, I know the answer, and B, it will link into another discussion about something else which I haven't mentioned yet. Robin says, name the only coach ever to win Man of Steel.
We discussed this last week, didn't we?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Even I knew that.
That's not going in the quiz book.
But that's how Man of Steel used to be decided. You had to win one of the categories to be the Man of Steel.
And now, of course, it could have been Danny Addy. It could have been his year.
It could have been Danny Addy.
It could have. Who were those idiots who voted for each other? I've forgotten now. They won this year's Dave Taylor.
Also as well, you look at that voting.
Jake Shorrocks and Ryan
Lannan.
Well done, lad.
Some players are voting because they have the same agent and all that. What an absolute total disrespect! Not just to the Man of Steel itself, but also to the great man himself and Steve Prescott.
The other side of that is that in any cross section of society, there are different people, but the right 3 got nominated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, I think yes, it needs to have a level of respect. It's never going to have 100% buy-in. And I think the other thing that, you know,
You take it away from them. You put
No,
it. You give
I-
it to a panel, Phil. You take it away
but that's
from
where that's where it went back to the players. It wasn't an independent panel, and then it went back to the player. I think the issue is that we expect that every player watches every game the same that we do, and they don't. It's their job. They go out. It's physically demanding. They don't spend their leisure hours at work, if you like. So some of them genuinely don't have an appreciation of who has played well week on week. So
Of course.
there is going to be
But-
a small cross section who, because they don't have somebody to, or but even because they're subversive personalities, will try and upset the system. But the right three were nominated. We're looking too much into
Because
it.
right-
No,
That's the
Phil,
thing,
Phil, I don't think we're looking too much into it. But also,
yeah.
as well, as I said a couple of weeks ago, why do you think Kevin Seafield never won the Man of Steel?
But
There's
it
your
beca- it
answer.
becomes
There's
a
your answer.
popularity
Exactly. There's your answer. City should have won at least not once or maybe twice. That's why he never won it, because the other players don't like
It's
it.
your
For whatever
vision.
reason,
It's
I
your
wouldn't
vision,
know.
isn't it?
No, the hell did
Affected.
you win it then?
Because it was a different system.
In what the players were voting for, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because I was advertising them glasses.
Hull have signed a new player. Matty Dawson-Jones.
Have they
From
signed
Leeds.
Jordan Thompson yet?
Apparently.
Can I ask about Leeds?
Sean waiting to be next Hull coach.
Yeah, get on Pride. Get on William Hill.
Hey, listen. I would imagine if Wayne is going to be in for the Hull to be like that, oh please don't be signing him. Don't be signing him. Don't be signing him.
No. But these are players, right, that Hull got rid of. Westerman,
Yeah.
Jordan Thompson,
Yeah.
and now 2 years later they're both re-signed. Now this is Adam Pearson that said 6 months ago his recruitment was done. He didn't need to do anything else, and now they're signing old
That
players.
is, yeah.
Now I like
Who they
Jordan
didn't think
Thompson.
were
I
good.
don't think he should have gone anywhere.
Correct, yeah.
But my point is, what message is that sending out to their
But the
fans?
message that it sent when he said he was going to re-recruit
Yeah.
was, we're not standing for what we've got. We're going,
For quality.
up market. Are they any better than the players that won't be there?
Look, I
Does that
like
not
Jordan
say something
Thompson.
about the
I
players'
wouldn't have
market?
let him go in the first
I
place.
agree.
But they let him go for a reason, and now they've brought him back.
If you were a whole season ticket holder, is it the kind of signing that would entice you to renew?
Well, having watched them lose 8 straight games, I'm not sure what would entice me to renew at all, if I'm brutally honest.
11 straight games.
Maybe signing Scully and Paul Cook might have had more chance of getting beaten by it.
I'm looking forward to going to Hull next week. Myself and my old mucker Crooksy, we're doing a vice president's luncheon on Sunday. We're doing a bit of speaking and a
And
question
a lot of drinking.
and a question and answer on Sunday. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So I'll be saying to the big fella, come on, get ripped into the useless black and whites, because I'm certainly get ripped in.
Well-
But come on, big fella, stop being shy. You know what I mean?
Because he's paid.
Yeah. What do you mean there'll be a lot of
No.
drinking? I can't drink with him anymore. It's too much for me. I'll try.
There will be a lot of drinking, but you'll be on the floor before he is.
It'll be steady aware.
No.
Good news for Sky. Pete's invited you and your minibus of legends, which doesn't exist, but we'll try and do it.
He
To the
lives in
Army-
Bel Isle. Lives in Bel Isle. We might have one soon.
There's the 4 of us here. We'll all go on minibus.
There's a phone call going in.
It'll be carry on coaching.
You've been invited,
Hey, we're
you've been
here.
invited
Who's
to the-
putting the tent up?
yeah, you've been invited to Army Finals Day in July. We will make you feel looked after.
I'm
so
there
to
then.
speak.
I'm there. Just send me the date. Send me it. I'm there. Don't worry about that. I'll promote the game anywhere, me. I'll promote the game
Talking of
anywhere.
promoting the game, the next game that we've already talked about is this England-France game. If we were going to have it in this country, why did we not use that as a promotional vehicle? Why did we not play that
Well,
game in Cumbria?
Someone asked, why is it not in London?
Yeah.
Why is it-
No, play it in Workington.
Well, yeah, but exactly. That is a great
Because
point.
there are
Absolutely,
8,000
I agree.
people
That's a
there
great
that went
point.
and supported
Yeah, I
Scotland
agree.
in the
Yeah.
World Cup. Gary keeps telling us, quite rightly, because he knows the people up there, that what they want to see is quality.
Yeah. They
So
would have turned out.
if you took an England international to Cumbria on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
you'll get more
Do you know
people
what?
than you would have done at
Do
Leeds.
you know what as well, fellas? I'd have even paid to go up to Cumbria.
But
And
you,
we all
Hold on,
expense.
hold on.
We
The
all
last
expense. I'd have
international
gone
you were
up
at-
there because it's
The
a
last
great night.
international
It's
you
a
were
great
at
night.
working, and you didn't even know the score because you'd gone in the bar when the last score was scored.
You know, only because they wouldn't have got served. There were 8,000 people there. There were 8,000 people
Vision
there.
and awareness.
Absolutely.
I have to say
Absolutely.
that-
Hold on.
30 minutes before
No,
full
no,
time.
no. You know why, right? You know why I know you weren't buying that drink? Because if you'd have been waiting to buy a drink, you'd have waited for the 8,000 people to go to the bar
that's
first.
a bit harsh.
And then you'd have walked in and go, oh, it's a bit busy, shall we go home now?
No.
So someone else
It's a
would
bit
obviously
harsh.
buy
No,
them,
no,
and
no.
you were in there,
No.
like you burst to speed, like the old days, interception, you were off.
I-
Bit harsh,
lads,
Mr.
I'm here.
Wilson, bit harsh.
That day at Keithley, I tell you, I thought you had arthritis or something, you were that slow getting to the bar.
Don't mention Keithley.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
But we talk about creating events. You give the people
It's got to go to the bars and
an
event.
event. But we feel like,
Character assassination here.
yeah, but there's no defence.
I'm going to say, there's no one coming back.
Come on, Mr. Kaplan.
I would have felt that going up to Workington would have been more of an event for me as a spectator
Correct.
than going to Lee.
Yeah.
And also as well, get all the England players and fans in schools up there and all this sort of thing, just get the interest from there.
And this is not having a go at Lee. Lee have got some real problems at the moment, some logistical, financial
They don't go on
problems.
their own ground.
Why are we taking it there?
Yeah, well, they're not getting any
Why are we
benefit.
putting money
Because
into
they
that
realise.
ground?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Why are we giving
why are we
This is a
supporting
great idea.
a stadium that is crippling
This is
the
a great
club that's
idea.
playing there?
You think
and
Friday, like you said, how many schools, how many players, 25 players going up, 2 in each school.
half of them are going to play
Go
anyway.
around, off you go, lads. We'll
Absolutely.
drive round.
Well,
We'll go to the school.
Yeah.
Why don't you
Full house on Saturday,
All right,
guaranteed.
Here's another idea. As your curtain raiser, Cumbria play.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's me too joined up thinking, I think, but I'm with you there. 8,000 people paying 20 quid a piece, 160 grand.
It's
It's
an
going to be more than
international.
they're going to get
It's
from
an,
League.
you know, and we might talk about selection, but if you've got a genuine
It's England, it's a national side.
in Cumbria,
It's a national side. It
playing
doesn't matter
France.
who's playing, you know.
it's
Yeah.
at a level
That's a
that
really
is
good
above
idea, Phil.
the way they play at the moment.
Well, the last time,
Really good
the
idea.
and
last
it
time,
costs nothing.
well, the last time Cumbria, because I was there, the last time Cumbria played Test match, Cumbria played England before the 2008 World Cup. Whitehaven, 9,000 people there. Bingo.
Yeah.
You know, simplicity.
we
it
need,
works
we
sometimes,
need
you know.
money in the
Yeah.
sport.
It works. Simplicity works, you know.
Yeah.
Cumbrians love quality rugby league, and they would have turned out towards England.
I'm
being
sure
France.
they-
Talking
Yeah.
of Cumbria, our good friend Mr. Price, just want to. I know Swinton won the game,
Yes.
but the Workington response to the adversity that they were put under was absolutely magnificent. I think they were asked to name 17 players to give the match more credibility than if they only had 13 fit.
Yeah.
There were 2 named on the bench that were never going to play, but they tried to make it credible. But more than anything, to take that game to 77 minutes.
Mm.
I think Leon deserves a lot of credit for that, for his coaching this year. I think the players deserve a huge amount for being competitive in the worst set of circumstances they could have possibly put on. I think the club deserve credit for treating that game with respect. They didn't say, "Oh, we'll go with 12 men and
Yeah.
sod it." So and it's been a fantastic season for Workington, even though they didn't win that game. To beat Bradford twice, to beat Doncaster in the playoffs, to put Workington back on the map from the doldrums that they were in.
Yeah.
Wigan unquestionably the team of the week. They won the big prize, but Workington not far behind them for me.
Fair point. And for those, I know a lot of people say, oh, the name's 17. I was with Leon on Saturday when he was ringing round trying to get people to play on the bench. They were that desperate for people to play. So, yeah, fair play. Mockery. I thought it was farcical from the RFL, but common thing.
Seems a long time ago we started the Sean O'Loughlin 2 at Leeds.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Well, I had no threatening calls yet, so I'm quite happy with
Yes,
it.
I like the club. Other actual news, Jai Hitchcock, I've heard of him, he's got my Bradford
He has.
job.
Yeah, good.
Um,
Please for him. I've just messaged him now. Delighted for him.
Peter's asking Kensio to Salford.
Yeah, apparently.
Kyle Amor potentially on the move. Ryan Briley potentially leaving Toronto.
Kyle Amor, Phil, Leeds. We need
No,
some
I
front
don't
rowers.
think- I
We
don't
need
think
some forwards. No.
Yeah, but I think it's
Not
his
good
age.
enough.
I think his age counts against it. I think Leeds have got players who are in their early
Well, look
30s.
at honestly not good. He couldn't get in the Saints team. Why is he good enough for Leeds?
I think it's more an age thing. They don't need a 32-year-old forward.
I think they need some forwards. don't they?
Yeah,
How old
but
are they?
not 32.
Well, hold on. How old Sean O'Loughlin?
But his is a culture thing, more than.
Ryan Briley's he leaving Toronto? What is he? Is
Apparently.
that
He hasn't
right?
been playing, has he?
I've been told. Ian says, why not host this England-France game at Barrow? Gary is fondly remembered there. Lol.
Who's that from? The place?
Barrow?
Des Johnson.
So Des Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, Des Johnson. Albeit.
Could play for the Des Johnson Trophy.
That's a bit. Hold on, that's a bit harsh again, you, Mr. Wilson. Hey, stop picking on me. Hey.
I once did a promotional bit with Des Johnson, in which he effed and blinded us all the way through, and went, we're going to have to do it again, Des, because you can't really swear because it's like for a promotional thing. It was like kids go free, and then he swore again. I was like, whatever. Just do it.
Before we run out of time, could I just pay tribute to Malcolm
You can
Andrews?
do, yes.
Yeah.
Of
One
course
of
you can.
the one of the truly great rugby league journalists, based in Australia, been a friend to a lot of people, not only who've been out there and his hospitable nature, but occasional phone calls you might get telling you what you needed to be doing and how you needed to be doing it. When he came over here for Test Series, one of the great raconteurs about the sport, historians, wrote some fabulous books. Sadly died this week. It hadn't been well for a little while, but a friend to a lot of people in the British media, and will be sadly missed. Did you meet Mark?
Yeah, I mean, in the future, big Balmain fan as well. Obviously, West Tigers nowadays, but
Wests, yeah.
great bloke, great character, and as you meant, he liked a couple, a bit of the amber nectar, as he called
Singing
it.
syrup.
Liked a couple of beers, so very, very sad. It'll be a massive loss for the game.
Other transfer news we've forgotten about. John Wilkins off to Toronto because he said it on his podcast.
Right, okay.
Buying a lock cabin.
Whoever it
What,
was,
in Manchester? What's he doing that for?
if Robert Elston's watching,
Go on, what?
because I wasn't going to say this, but now I've mentioned his podcast. Don't employ him next year for the grand final. He was terrible.
Who, John Wilkin?
No,
So
not John Wilson.
we've got some bloody chances involved in our sport at the minute.
So one of the biggest ones is coming back, Rich.
What, me? Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, let's get all aboard the banter bus. And on you just wait.
Shall
till
we
next
go
year.
now? It's only 8 minutes left.
We
You
can't
want to set off?
We can't even start on that, can we? We can't. There's things you can't say. Phil tells about his book because it's integral in the England shirt launch today.
Yeah, something that the sport should have done a long time ago is fate the players who went to fight in the First World War and didn't come back, gave the ultimate sacrifice. 3 of whom, not that there should be any distinction between any of them, but were current internationals. They'd been on the 1914 tour, they got called up and they got killed in action. Nobody has ever put together the definitive list of who they are, least of all written about them. That has now been rectified. Chris Roberts, who was a journalist at the Huddersfield Examiner, very highly regarded, he's done the rugby side. His wife Jane, who is a genealogist and a military one, has done their military record and married the 2 together for each player. I think it's been long needed. It deserves to be commemorated. There needs to be a book where their deeds are recorded. There is now. We are incredibly proud at Scratchy Shed to have published it. Take no credit for the research that's been done or the fact that it's such a great book, but the sport needs this. And to be fair, it was part of the launch of the Poppy shirt today. It is now available. We're hoping to get it on sale at the test matches. That is down to the RFL, and if it can happen, it will happen. But I'm not just saying it because we've got an involvement in it. If you revere the history of this sport, you want to know on the shoulders of whom it was built, look at these 69 players.
Very good.
The shirt looks good as well.
Yeah, it
Because
does.
sometimes these.
Well, you've got a bit. Hold on.
Yeah, it's an English shirt with
Hold on.
poppies.
Richard's had a rant about the
Yeah.
shirt today.
No,
Rich, do you want to go with that again?
Yeah. Sometimes these shirts can look a bit tacky, can't they? But it looks good.
Right. Yeah.
From a
But
distance
that
you
wasn't
can't-
what you were ranting
No,
about, though, is
because
it?
people have been going on Facebook as they do and saying, oh, it's going to be banned and all this, that, and the other. And as I've said, these people who are obviously, let's make no bones about it, they are racists. We don't want these people involved in rugby league. If you have those opinions, go watch something else. Don't
That
need
ain't
you.
quite how politely you put it
No,
on Twitter,
it's not.
was it?
I don't like swearing on Twitter, but I thought these people
Did
deserved
he?
I thought these people deserved it because we don't want
Both
those people
barrels.
involved.
He's got a too-much ban or something.
Yeah, I can't go
2
through
weeks
internationals now.
ban. You've got to miss the France game, Rich, sadly.
Well, yeah.
You know that.
You've got 2-week ban on the promotional bus.
I'm off to the ice hockey instead, it's only a fiver.
Yeah, there you go.
No
There you
speedway.
go.
Oh, no speedway, not this week.
Not allowed, but they've banned him as well.
After my rant last year,
Yeah. Well, you
But
did upset him.
there is the danger we could become Speedway, and I think we need to be wary of that.
Okay.
And, we said that before, but that's not important.
Anything else you want to get off your chest while we're in?
No.
You sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Feeling better now?
Yeah. Although we must say well done to Phil, who nicked a bag of Haribo from the VIP section at the women's grand final.
Me and Sweets.
Yeah. Taking lessons from Scurry on nicking stuff.
To be fair, we did relieve a few out of the thing on the reception as we were left on Saturday as well.
But the Old Trafford staff, they won't take it, would they?
No. We tried to bribe the security man with a Swizzler lolly, but he won't have it.
The media room at the women's grand final was a table with some chairs around in it and no one else there. But they did have a plug socket, so I was very pleased for that.
Things are improving. I don't know why you moan so much about it.
Go watch the reaction. It's on Facebook and YouTube. And
Don't complain about the win.
don't complain about the win, because that's what we didn't mention about that game. The quality of the game, despite the fact that it was played in a gale, because that stadium is not built to have wind anywhere near it. If they'd been throwing javelins, as they do tend to do there, because it is an athletic stadium, be going out of the stadium.
They've gone to Old Trafford.
Dangerous place. But, why wasn't the president of the RFL at that game when he was at the other one? He wasn't there giving out the trophies.
Don't know. Oh well, there you go. 4 minutes left, Score. I hope you're going to get off your chest.
No. Pretty happy to be honest with you. And what with the show, I love the international calendar. I mean, I'm not bothered about the game on Wednesday because that's a non-event, isn't it, really? But Wayne Bennett won't learn anything from that whatsoever. Really looking forward, certainly after what New Zealand did to Australia. I tell you what, mate, I'm really looking forward to this Test series now. I'm going to go to the 2 games. I'm going to go to the Hull one, and I'm going to go to the Leeds one. Liverpool, I can't be really bothered going there, to be honest with you, but I'll watch the other one on TV.
What, even if there's a bit of hospitality?
Yeah, I was going to take what they asked you to present the shirts or something.
Yeah, honestly. If it's there, who knows? But honestly, I'm really looking forward to this Test series. I think it's going to be an absolute belter.
Are they going to win it? England?
Do you know what? Before Saturday's game, I would have predicted England 3-0. It all depends what Sean Johnson wants to do. If Sean Johnson turns up for the 3 games, either way 2-1.
I think Michael Maguire as well. And the Kiwis, when they played over here, have never been quite as strong as the Kiwis you play over there. Michael Maguire won't accept that. So I think he will bring a very hungry group. Some real young, exciting kids amongst the Johnsons. I think Martin Zalesniak was fantastic as a standing captain. So I think that they've got a bit of history and tradition because his grandfather played for New Zealand. I think they've got back the essence of what it is to be a New Zealander under Maguire. They've got discipline and they've got fitness. And they've got some world-class players. One of the players worth going to see if nobody else is Nelson Asafoa Solomona. I think he's
You're obsessed with him.
I just think
I'm
he's
starting to worry about
I
it.
just think he's one of
Is
the
he signing
leading-
for Leeds?
No,
What about that centre?
It's a 5-year deal with Melbourne, so.
What about that centre? You know when he created that try? Great work by Johnson again, just maverick player, but the pass, getting outside the Australian centre himself, and the pass back
But
inside.
it's in them. That way of playing is in them, and I just think if Maguire can bring it out of them, this is a Test series you need to go and see.
By the way, just quickly, how pleased he Ollie Gildart called up into the England squad. Created put it on a plate, didn't he, for Manfredi on Saturday.
Hey, listen, mate, he should have gone to the World Cup last year. Quality
But
centre.
how good is he
did
know
with
that he's
Italy.
going to play?
Oh yeah, I agree. Without a shadow of doubt, you know, again, it's another position where we're not really that strong. You would say for centres, quality deserves to be in the national side.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, pleased for him.
Last couple of things on social media. Toby says, hold on, let's congratulate Brian Barwick for getting another appearance. Must be hard work for him these days.
He wasn't in the women's game.
No, he wasn't there.
He's on 20 grand a game.
Yeah,
He must be.
He's on more than the players.
Do you know what? Why does he deserve hospitality more than me?
Because he's got a
He's
job
never put a
there.
pair of boots on in his life.
It's all the
Why does he
Got a
deserve
black
it?
book. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
have you
all
got a black
contacts.
book?
I've got a black book.
Yeah,
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I've got a
I
black
don't
book.
want
like
to
Norman
know.
Hunter used to have.
I've got a black book, and I tell you what, it's a lot more useful than what he's I can reassure you.
No,
First name in it, Des Jones.
I can reassure you, it's far more entertaining than what his black
You
book
want
is.
to calm down, Ian. You want to calm down.
Steve's asking if Castle Wakefield will get new grounds before Gary Schofield is 60. No. And,
Or even
Steve
Hospitality.
Bucknell, he's the umpire. Oh, it's Bucknell, isn't it?
Hold on, they've got 16 years to go.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, we're still going no.
Not had a reply from the MP. And Peter says, thanks for the entertainment this season. Roll on 2019. We're not going anywhere.
No,
We'll be.
No, we're not like those other radio stations
We'll
that pretend
be.
rugby league didn't
Yeah.
exist. We're not even on the radio. They don't even employ us anymore.
We do pre-season on this show. We do pre-season. We get ripped in. We get ripped in pre-season.
Although, I don't know if we're on Christmas Eve. Probably will.
We'll debate
Well,
that.
we might do that at 10 o'clock at night after the watershed
Yes.
with a few sherbets.
Sherbet did that.
That will be an interesting programme.
That is it. Richard, are you going to start
Yeah.
crawling around and turning all the relevant buttons off? Yes, so Sean O'Loughlin to Leeds. Remember, you heard it here first. If it didn't happen, we'll edit it off the podcast later. Don't worry about that. Thanks to the legend. He's off for some free hospitality somewhere else. Phil Kaplan, as ever, for his hospitality. And the RSW. Download the podcast, subscribe, like, feed, do everything you need to do. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week.
Right, we're off YouTube.